Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
All right, we have breaking news to start this Wednesday edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, along with G. Bush and Mikey McNuggets. The Browns have done it, something we've talked about for months.
Let's go.
All right, you're annoying right now.
Listen, it's not my fault the Browns could re-sign both their general manager and their head coach, and the Bengals can't sign a single receiver. Well, don't put that on me.
That's true.
Don't put that on me. Blame the poverty franchise.
I don't like phony homerism. You're phony homerisming right now.
I just like to bust your balls.
Yeah, I know. Browns have signed Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry to extensions. We don't have the details yet of how many years for each guy, but this is great news for the Browns, G. Bush. Stability in the organization for the first time in decades.
Well, you know, we can get rid of the talking point now. People used to get mad. People be upset like, yo, what they doing? Why ain't the picks in? What's going on? Why they ain't reward those guys 2-time coach of the year? Andrew Berry's done some really good things in trades, and the Browns have made the playoffs for the first time in lots of years, like 80s, 90s, the most successful tandem that we have. And now this is a situation where we can stop talking about it. It's not a thing anymore.
And stability matters in football. You look at the teams that have been successful over the course of the last couple of decades. You had the Patriots on their dynasty. Well, Belichick had the utmost job security. And although he was GM, it was Ernie Adams and Robert Kraft. And the front office, for the most part, was stable. Most recently, the Chiefs. Brent Veach, Andy Reid. No questions about it. The Browns and Stefanski and Berry aren't on those levels yet. They have one playoff win, and I'm not trying to put them on that level, but I'm just saying the idea of stability and having your head coach and general manager in lockstep, not just with roster moves, but future team building and future team planning and goals and aspirations, that is a monumental factor for a team and an organization that, frankly, has lacked stability completely since they came back to Cleveland in '99.
And now they've got to prove they're worth it. Both these guys have done a good job, but not good enough. I'm seeing a lot of tweets, best pair in forever. But okay, that's true. But there's not a high bar there. No. There's been all the other pairs were horrible. So all you had to do was be better than horrible to reach that level. I'm a fan of Andrew Berry. I'm a fan of Kevin Stefanski. I think Andrew Berry's done a solid job as GM. I think Kevin Stefanski's done a very good job as head coach. But neither one has done close to good enough. The goal in Cleveland, G. Bush, is to win a Super Bowl. Not win one playoff game in 4 years.
Especially when you go all in on quarterback.
That's right. So now is the time to take it to the next level because there's been other stability. Marvin Lewis had stability in Cincinnati. Mike Tomlin's had stability in Pittsburgh. He hasn't won in a long time. Marvin Lewis never won squat. Sometimes it's, the reason Belichick stuck around for a long time and Andy Reid is because they won, not just because they wanted stability. You got to win. You got to win when it matters. So this was a big first step. But really, it's the first step. But you'd think if you're Andrew Berry now, if you're Kevin Stefanski now, there's a sense of calm and relax. And the thing about stability is, these guys have chemistry and they work together well, and it allows you to grow. Every coach is going to get somewhat better. Every GM is going to get at least some degree better the longer they do the job. Now, some guys ultimately are not good enough, and they can do it for 10 years, and it's just not good enough. But I suspect that these two guys are good enough and that with more time they will eventually get the job done. But just because I think it or you think it or you think it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Now they've got to prove it, and they've got who knows how many years. We haven't seen it. I'm assuming they got at least a 4-year extension, if not 5, which means we could potentially have these guys together for as much as a decade, if not more. And that's a great step for the organization.
Well, listen, people always say, I've been as vocal as anybody about Stefanski, right? But I'm always a person who gives you an opportunity to prove me wrong on the field by what you do. And what Kevin Stefanski did was he was like, hey, I was coach of the year. I did it with a different quarterback. I did it with a different play style. He came back last year and did it with 5 or 6 different quarterbacks and everybody being injured and still went to the playoffs. This is a list of the guys who've won 2 Coach of the Years awards in the NFL. Allie Sherman won 2. George Halas, that's pretty dope name. Don Shula, pretty tough, big name. George Allen. You keep going. Joe Gibbs, another big time name. Mike Ditka, huge name. Bill Parcells, right? And Bill Belichick. And by the way, Ron Rivera
and Bruce Arians.
And
They're
Bruce
the two
Arians,
kind of
right?
outlaws.
Because it's changed. The award has changed. No, listen, you know how much I love Kevin Stefanski. He doesn't belong in the conversation with any of those guys.
His award,
outside of the last 2.
Yeah.
his awards say it.
Well,
that's what his awards say.
But Kevin Stefanski, now the award has now become the guy who did the best job unexpectedly. It used to go to just the best coach. Kevin Stefanski wasn't the best coach in the NFL last year. Nobody would argue nobody would realistically argue he was the best coach in the NFL. His team succeeded more than expected based on the circumstances on the team. That's why he won the award. He's done a very good job. But no, he doesn't. Those coaches are Hall of Famers. Kevin Stefanski would have to buy a ticket to get in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, his book is yet to be written.
Well, I'm saying to this
early.
point,
It's early,
Yeah.
and for him to do it in a very short period of time, put you in a list of people that's saying, "Wow, this guy." I mean,
I don't think
in 4 years, it's crazy.
But look at the other 2 guys who have done it in recent years. I mean, we don't look at Ron Rivera as a good coach. Ron Rivera is considered a bad coach, and he won 2.
And Bruce Arians, who's
I
been
mean,
Bruce
Arians fine.
I mean, Bruce
Those
Arians.
guys were all a long time ago outside of Belichick.
Well, Bruce Arians, he just left.
He's fine, but he ain't going to the Hall of Fame.
I think he might.
Oh, I don't.
He has 2 Coach of the Years and a Super Bowl.
I don't think Coach of the Year has anything to do with Hall of Fame.
Well, regardless of Coach of
Yeah.
the Year, since Stefanski and Barry have come to the Browns have seen a level of success they frankly hadn't seen since coming back to Cleveland in '99. The 37-30 record is a .552 win percentage, which is their best since the 1986 through 1989
Again,
four-year stretch.
that's
No,
not saying much.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying that since they've come, they have brought this organization from, frankly, a laughingstock to legitimately credible on all facets, offensively, defensively, from a well-run, top-down standpoint. And when you look at what they've done, and to your point earlier about improving,
Yeah.
there is room and reason to believe that this pairing will only get better and better and better. Can they reach the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl? I don't think we have enough data yet to tell us yes or no, but there is reason to believe this tandem can keep ascending up the ladder of the best head coach, GM tandems in football.
And I think one of the things that there's going to be one of the unintended consequences to this is now, depending on the years, we know for a fact that if the Deshaun Watson thing does not work, they will still be here.
That's true.
That's huge.
That's
like
a big
that's,
deal.
That's
huge. No,
a
it's
big.
massive.
It's a big deal because if Deshaun flops this year, then Berry and Stefanski, if they decide to, can move on.
Yeah.
Even after this year, you can start thinking about drafting a quarterback. You don't have to worry about your job.
Yeah,
If that happens.
they are now insulated
Yes.
from that.
No doubt.
And now, when you have, and here's the thing that what the organization should think about. Now the organization does not have to worry about Stefanski or Barry going out of their way to do things in the short term that they normally would not do because they're worried about making a splash or having to keep their job. So now they can go into it and make the best decision for a 5-year term rather than a 6-month all-in type deal.
It's funny because since this show started in 2022, and I'm sure this was 2021 and 2020, I just can't speak from that from personal experience. Kevin Stefanski's been a dividing factor in the city. There are people that love Kevin Stefanski. There are people that hate Kevin Stefanski. I go back to the Seattle game this year when he decided to throw the ball to P.J. Walker. It gets picked off, and we had the poll that next Monday morning. Should Kevin Stefanski still be the head coach of the Browns? And it was 83% said no, fire him. Mm-hmm. He's the first head coach since the Bush administration.
That's actually not true. That's a mistake.
Hugh Jackson got
an extension.
Yeah.
But that was
he immediately got fired. It was a stupid decision.
That was
I guess I was.
Hugh Jackson
I'm
did
erased
get an
that from my
extension.
mind.
I still can't believe he did, but he did.
Yeah.
And then he immediately got fired after it. So anything's possible. But I think now we find I think what you're talking about them having no pressure to win immediately is big. Now, some people may look at it and say, well, maybe they'll be hesitant to make moves. No, I don't really think it's going to change anything that Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski do. But it just takes away any pressure that they might have felt. I don't know what they felt at all. I do think with the Watson situation, it could play a role. But now, over the next few years, we'll find out. And I'll bring up the Marvin Lewis comparison again. Before Marvin Lewis, the Bengals were what the Browns had been before Kevin Stefanski. They were the worst franchise in sports. And Marvin Lewis reached a new level for them, just like Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry has. Now, you ask me, I'm going to tell you that Kevin Stefanski's a better coach than Marvin Lewis. However, I have more information on Marvin Lewis because
he was there like 12 years.
He was there forever. I don't remember exactly how many years. He was there forever, went to the playoffs 7 times. And he did a good job for a lot of that time, but eventually it was enough. Now, is Kevin Stefanski eventually and Andrew Berry going to get into the class of these upper-tier coaches and GMs? Well, he's not anywhere close to them now. You got to win. You got to win more than one playoff game in 4 years before you're even in any kind of discussion. But he has they both have the opportunity. I think they're capable of it. I believe they are. I believe they're both good at their job and can be better. But they've got to prove it. We're going to find out in the next few years. Are they deserving of that top talk? Or do they end up being Marvin Lewis and be here 8 years and the team's pretty good and we've reached a higher floor, but we're so used to losing that it's scary to move on from that. That's what we're going to find out in the next bunch of years.
Man,
because if you keep losing in the first round of the playoffs,
right, you're going to figure it out.
Eventually, you're going to make a change. But I don't want to get bogged down on that now. I love this. I think it's great for the organization. I don't think they're going to. I think the Browns will continue to make progress with this group because I think they're good people. But we're going to find out for sure.
Does this change? So it's weird. Does this change the way you think about? Okay, now since he got this extension, do you now believe that it was a collaborative situation where they did bring in Dorsey and bring him in as offensive coordinator, or do you still think the ownership group said no, this is what's going to happen? And B, if he is the head coach now, he got the security, he got the extension, do you think there is a chance now where he could say, no, we were going to go down the path of Dorsey calling plays, but I feel a little more comfortable?
Could I say yes to both at the same time? I think there was probably some pressure from the Haslam and ownership to be like, hey, this isn't what we expected it to be, and we want it to look a little different, but it may not have been all. It could be a little bit of both. He wanted to make a change. It was a little pressure from upstairs saying, we want to look a little different, but however you want to make that difference, it's up to you. And he said, okay, well, AVP, I appreciate what you've done. I want to go in a different direction. But I think there's probably a little bit of both at play. But it does make me feel a little better now knowing that it wasn't, and I didn't think it was ever fully forced. But if they're going to keep with Stefanski and extend him for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever the extension details come out,
they must have come to some agreement.
They must have come to some agreement and come to some conclusion that this is the right guy, and we trust him to lead us for the next half a decade or more. So we're going to put our faith and trust in him.
It doesn't change my opinion. I think Alex Van Pelt was forced out by ownership. And I don't think Kevin Stefanski would willingly give up his play calling. Maybe ownership said, hey, listen, we want to give you the extension. We think you'd be better off having somebody else call the plays. Maybe there was some level of Kevin Stefanski saying, all right, okay. He came around on it. And I don't know, you don't know, none of us know for sure. Only he knows for sure. The way he's talked about the play calling in the past, I just don't believe that he willingly gave it up. But at this point, it doesn't matter. I mean, it is what it is. All signs are pointing toward Ken Dorsey calling plays. It would be interesting if Kevin Stefanski
he pulls it back now.
You know what, Ken Dorsey? You're a slappy.
I will say this, though.
Yeah.
There is a very good chance that if the Cleveland Browns, not saying that they will, don't get on me, but if they're sluggish and offense ain't really hitting.
Oh, yeah.
By all means of the circle, Kevin Stefanski now has the cachet to be like, this didn't work out. We ain't about to do this. I'm going to call these plays
this
right
is
now.
Not a,
I wonder if he could, real quick, start.
Yeah.
I wonder if he lets Dorsey start and then pulls it back if he doesn't like how it's going. As opposed to him starting and then.
Right.
I feel like now that he has the leverage to do that, hey, I'm not going anywhere.
I think
let Dorsey start and pull it back.
I think if you give the guy the OC job and you make him the play caller, I don't think you pull back. I mean, it would have to be really bad for you to take it away from him in the first year.
We saw Nick Sirianni do it.
In the first year?
Yeah, well, Shane Steichen went to...
and how did that go for the team after that?
Not great.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea unless it's going terribly, terribly wrong.
And he may give him... And look, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying this because he gave your boy Joe Woods a whole doggone 4 or
Right,
5 years,
right, yeah.
and still wouldn't get him up out of here. So I think he has shown a track record of letting you get your money off and proving whether you can do it or not for a year, because he believes in doing it by the book. It's a common courtesy that you don't fire nobody in the middle of the season unless you have to, because it looks crazy for that guy getting another job.
That's right. Have you guys seen the video? I saw it recently posted on Twitter or YouTube or something where it was a video of when Kyle Shanahan was the OC of the Browns.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Mike Pettin was like, maybe we should run the ball.
Yeah.
And then Shanahan didn't even answer him.
Yeah.
Like, Pettin's the head coach.
Yeah.
Shanahan just looked at him like, you're the dumbest guy on the face of the earth. Don't tell me what to do. Like, that ain't happening in this situation.
No.
This is not a Kyle Shanahan, Mike Pettin situation. Mike Pettin is a defensive guy.
Yeah.
Totally different story. I don't buy that Kevin Stefanski's going to have nothing to do with the offense. He's going to have some say. But, I think when you have an offensive head coach and you have a good offensive coordinator, I do think you work together.
Yes.
It's definitely a collaborative process. It should be, too.
And I think it was with Alex Van Pelt, too.
Yeah.
I mean, the equivalent of you doing that on the sideline is like you getting a text during the middle of the show and being like, hey, dog, I think you need to talk about this right now.
Right.
And you be like, you mean right now? Like, I wasn't ready to talk about it. Like, you just, what? Like, that's not it. We run through the rundown. That's not it. But you can't do that, bro.
But we did it today because our plan was to start with the Guardians, which we will get to the Guardians.
Actually, that happens to us all the time.
Right,
We're just good.
breaking news right before the show.
But breaking news isn't a text.
Yeah,
Breaking
that's
news
true.
is you're down 27-7 with 3 minutes left and you have to start throwing the ball.
Right.
You don't really have a choice.
Yeah,
but bottom line, and then we'll move on.
Yeah.
It's a great day for Browns fans. You have stability, and you have two guys who you feel like you can trust in two of the most important positions in a football organization, locked in for however long this deal will be. And if you don't like what Stefanski's done over 4 years, I'm not quite sure what more you could really ask for. If you haven't liked what Andrew,
I mean, there's a lot more you could ask for.
but I'm saying, comparatively speaking,
You can't. That's the problem. That's a loser mentality
But
to look at it comparatively speaking.
You could hope
the
for more
bar
playoff
has to be higher.
Yes, but I'm
Yes.
saying okay, yes, you're right.
One playoff win.
No.
Just say, what more could he do? He's won one playoff game.
And that's fair.
You can't say
but
that.
I'm looking big picture wise.
Still falling.
And that's
Still falling.
and you said,
How do we still have this? There's no way. That
because
was over a month ago.
that is the
it was
Lord.
April 24th, and we still
The
have
Lord above was like, oh, listen, give the man his flowers.
Yeah.
Please give him his
That's
confetti. That is the confetti that we got for the
You're
one
right.
And again, how much I like Stefanski.
I know, and you're right. You could have more playoff success.
Yeah.
But I'm looking big picture at what he's done. It has been, in my opinion, although one playoff win's not enough, a very successful 4-year stretch for Stefanski and Berry. And it's building the pillar and the foundation of what you hope will be a championship organization in the next 4 or 5
They
years.
haven't made that many. They haven't. If you look at what they've done, they haven't made many mistakes. The one mistakes I killed them for was just being like, yeah, we don't need defensive linemen or receivers. And I think they came back the next year and was like, and defensive linemen, like they were like, that was us. That was us. Now
the Deshaun Watson thing did end up being a mistake.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. I think I commend them for having Baker
100%.
Mayfield and saying, you know what, it's going to be a tough road and tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Baker ain't the guy.
100%. Whether it ends up being a bad move or a good move,
It was the right move.
It was the right
It was
move
the
at
right
the time.
move, yeah.
I believe 100%. I know some people don't believe that. You do. Certainly, I do.
I do too, for the record.
But it might turn out to be a bad move if it doesn't get turned around this year. But time will tell on that. Ultimately, though, they've done a solid job through 4 years. They've got to do a bet. The next 4 years better be better than the last 4
Yes.
years, significantly.
They got to take the step.
You can't be
And
complacent with where they're at. But like I said, that's
100%.
why it's the foundation.
It's easy to say, oh, they did a great job. Because look at where your bar is.
But it's look where you take over from, which is why I think great job is a fair assessment of what they've done. They took over nothing and built it into something. And yes, it's not where they want to get to.
That's fair.
But they are
Right.
building up from what was literally ground zero.
Yes. Well, I don't know about ground zero because some of these players were here before then. They had been ground zero a few years before they took over. Like ground zero was a few years earlier. They had started building a little.
We're arguing minutia now. You get what I'm saying.
But the point is they've done a good job so far. We need them to do a great job in the next round.
Yes.
And they have the opportunity. I think they have the talent. both in themselves and on the field. They got to keep work. You got to always be getting better. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So I do think this is a great day for the organization, and at least on some level, it signals that Jimmy Haslam is making less stupid decisions.
Yeah.
He's staying out of the way at least to some. I just said a minute ago, I still think he pressured the Alex Van Pelt situation and the Ken Dorsey situation, and I do. But
I actually think it might be the best thing.
But I think that Jimmy Haslam is overall staying out of the way of the team more than he was initially, and that's good for the team.
Yeah.
So I give him credit for that, and I certainly give him credit for spending the money not only on players, but I'm assuming that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry both got very good financial deals. Probably a safe assumption.
And here's my thing too.
Yeah.
Why don't they display coaches' contracts?
They never do.
We got to hear the players' contracts.
Yeah, I know.
If they paying them $20 million a year, right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't the people deserve to hear that you getting $20 million?
Out like eventually, but
not really. If you Google right now,
it's
coach
hard.
salaries,
Yeah, it's hard.
all reportedly, and he said, she said, there are no hard numbers
in
reported.
college we find out, don't we?
Yeah,
100%, because
they
it's public,
stay
it's public money in state schools.
So
in the NFL, we have Belichick.
Why is that? I remember one time somebody with the Guardians got very mad at me because years ago I was asking how many years Chris Antonetti had left on his contract, and I wasn't even saying like, oh, I thought he should be fired or whatever. I was just curious how many years he had left on his contract. And not only did they not give us an answer, they got annoyed that I even asked the question.
Because that's the system.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like you can't look. It's an authoritative thing. When you grow up, and I used to be in class all the time, and they used to go around and say, "You guys should go to college. You guys should do your thing, go to college." And you get to college, and I'm like, "Okay, well, what do I want to do in college?" So I used to ask people that would come in, "Well, how much money do you get paid?" They would be like, "You're not supposed to ask that." I said, "Well, how the hell do I know if I want to do your job or
right,
not?"
Yeah.
That's part of it.
I know.
So they're like, don't ask, don't tell. Like, it's kind of, because they don't want you to be in like.
Well, the bosses don't want you to know.
No, $20 million. You're getting paid $20 million to do that?
Yeah.
You don't even do nothing.
Yeah.
They don't want that.
By the way, we were just talking about not getting texts, and now I'm like, my phone is blowing up. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Becker.
Steve Becker's going nuts on text. Steve.
Classic.
Is he using?
What is happening?
He's talking in it too. That's the most devastating.
Plus, and to be fair, I got about 20 texts from the Rocky River Fall Ball League. Those guys are making me nuts right now. So anyway, well, there you go. I think that's all to say about it for now. We'll wait and see if we get any details.
And we'll talk about tomorrow in depth with Jason.
We might get years.
We'll get years. We won't get money figures.
The money, I mean, I don't really care how much
really
they
matter.
got paid.
I don't care.
That doesn't
affect
that's
the
not
salary
even worth
cap.
analyzing,
it's
really.
Simply what Jimmy wants to pay.
Jimmy, the one
wants.
thing you don't worry about with Jimmy is how much money he's spending. So whatever they're paying those guys is irrelevant from our perspective because it's not going to affect anything else he does because he spends like a wild man. We love him for that.
It's kind of like the national debt.
Just keep spending. Well, we don't have to pay it. We're not going to pay it back. Let's go. Anthony, what do we got?
What's up, guys?
Guardians later. We'll get to another Browns topic here that we were
we're
planning
going
to
keep
talk
our
about.
coach talk going here in a minute. Earl and I are keeping an eye out for details, but before we move on, I want to remind everybody that it's winners take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you guys a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and so much more. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
All right. So this next topic is based on an article, I think it was from CBS Sports,
Sports
right?
Illustrated.
Oh, Sports Illustrated. That's right. That was another article, CBS Sports. Sports Illustrated ranked all 32 teams in terms of the coach-quarterback combo. Mm-hmm. So where did the Browns end up on this list? We're going to get to it. What do you got for us there, Anthony?
The Browns ended up at 21st, but we're going to run
graphic?
you guys through the first 5 here in this first graphic. Oh, Steve, you can take 223 here.
Okay.
It's Mahomes and Reed, Jackson and Harbaugh, Stafford and McVay, Stroud and Ryans, Love and LaFleur.
LaFleur's close.
You can go next, Steve.
I don't agree with that, with these.
I have a lot of issues with this
Mike
list.
has a lot of
All right,
issues with
Herbert
these.
and Harbaugh, Burrow and Taylor, Allen McDermott, Purdy, Shanahan, Goff and Campbell. Okay.
And then the Browns came in at 21, so we did 20 through 24.
Behind Baker and Bowles.
Yeah. And then Watson, Stefanski, 21.
I really would like to see. We don't have the graphics for in between 11 and 20, right?
And can read it if he wants. We didn't make them all because then it turns into us reading it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Can I start with this one? This
Go
really
ahead.
pissed me off, and not necessarily for the Browns ranking in particular.
By the way, it's a random list. It shouldn't piss you off. What are you, me?
No, it's annoying because
Piss you off?
No, it did because
Yeah, go ahead.
they ranked each quarterback 1 through 31 and each head coach 1 through 31. If
Right.
you actually clicked in the article, they did it. They
Oh,
did
it was
their
31.
combo.
It wasn't
Or
32?
32. Sorry,
Yeah,
32. So they did it. They did it individually, and they did
Yeah.
the cumulative score.
Right.
And Watson was 23rd on the quarterbacks, and Stefanski was 19 on the head coaches.
19?
That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
If you go through all of these, I had an issue with, and I've made a whole list of things I had an issue with. The Watson quarterback ranking, we could argue 23, 21.
Right now that's about
Well,
fair.
I don't really want to argue Watson where
Yeah.
he ranks because we just don't know.
Yeah.
To put Stefanski as the 19th best head coach in football behind a ton of guys, like Zach Taylor was 12, for example. And I know Zach Taylor has a Super Bowl experience.
Yeah.
But he's a guy who, if you want to argue, they're not 7 spots apart. I'm not sure what Stefanski has to do.
Listen, I'm probably the only one qualified to compare Zach Taylor and Kevin Stefanski because I watched
And you would
every
take
team.
Stefanski.
I'd probably take Stefanski. Now, I think Zach Taylor's been unfairly over-criticized, but you could certainly – I mean, Zach Taylor's won a lot more playoff games than Kevin
Yes.
Stefanski has.
Yes.
So there's certainly an argument to make for Zach Taylor. I would ultimately choose Kevin Stefanski, but clearly Zach Taylor has had more on-the-field success where it matters the most. So that's fair. But there are definitely guys ahead of Kevin Stefanski that shouldn't be.
A couple other names,
Go
like
ahead.
Mike McCarthy at 15. And once again,
Yeah.
I know he's a Super Bowl. That was
Yeah.
a decade and
But
a half.
he hasn't had success in a long time.
If you were picking Stefanski or Mike McCarthy, 32 teams are picking Kevin Stefanski right now.
I don't know about 32, but
29
I think a
teams,
lot
fine.
would.
There are some other guys.
Yeah.
Doug Peterson, another guy right now, if I think you're weighing. And when you look at how they weighed quarterback ranking to head coach ranking to
Yeah.
come to this cumulative number,
Quarterback should be heavier.
should be way heavier.
Yeah.
And if that's why the Browns are at 21, I still disagree with that over some of the ones that are
Right.
there. But in general, when you're
Yeah.
looking at both sides of this equation, the quarterback and the head coach that come
Yeah.
together, I know there's a tiny, tiny sample size of the Watson-Stefanski duo.
Right.
It's 11, 12 games in
Yeah.
2 years now, and that's it. So I understand the sample size for those two on the field is
Yeah.
minimal, but they didn't say it's based off what they've done on the field. It was the quarterback ranking and the coach ranking combined
Right, right.
together. And
Yeah.
to put the Browns at 21 and Stefanski at 19 in particular,
Yeah.
I thought just a giant miss on Sports Illustrated's part.
So how many guys where do you think Kevin Stefanski is in the coach rankings?
He has 2 Coach of the Years in 4 seasons.
I don't factor
know
that
you don't-
in.
I'm just saying that's
That's kind of hard not to
I
factor.
don't. Or
that's like-
minimally.
that's like saying- that's like
Do you think Kevin Stefanski was the best coach in the NFL last year?
But you got to think
He won
about
11
this.
games with 4 quarterbacks.
I mean,
that's an incredible.
How many teams, how many coaches would have went to the playoffs with that roster?
That's the question to ask.
I think half the league would have gone.
You think half the? See, I disagree.
I think about 4 people.
You
4
think
or
Kevin
5.
Stefanski's the 5th best coach in the league?
No, I think it's a sliding scale, but
Yeah. I mean, you wanted him. It's funny because you've wanted him fired for a while. I've defended him all the time, and I'm saying half the coaches in the league.
So what happened? So what happened in that time period? In that time period,
I think we can't.
He's shown you in
Yeah.
that time period. I got a little something extra that you didn't account for.
What I would say about Kevin Stefanski is what I say all the time. There are roughly, it's not exactly, roughly 5 coaches that are superstars. Kevin Stefanski is not one of them. There are roughly 5 coaches that are absolute shit. Kevin Stefanski's clearly not one of those guys. And then there's 20 some odd in between that could go either way.
Coach of the
now,
year.
I believe Kevin Stefanski's in that group. I think right now he's trending towards the higher end of that group, and I think maybe someday he can get into that elite group. But clearly there's no argument for putting him in that elite group, no matter how coach of the year, because you've got to win when it matters.
Yeah.
Okay? If we're going to blame quarterbacks that can't win when it matters, then we got to blame coaches that can't win when it matters.
Here's the point.
Yeah.
When you look at it,
Yeah.
Coach of the Year is basically saying that's the MVP for coaches.
I don't look at it that way, but okay.
I mean, there's only one award. How many awards they give out?
I'm saying they vote for the guy who did the most unexpectedly, not did the most.
Well, here's the thing.
I think he did the most with the least last year, though.
But it wasn't the
that
least.
counts.
Was it really the least?
Yes.
Yes.
Didn't Mike Tom look at Mike Tomlin had a
no.
quarterback.
And I said he should have been the second coach of the year last year.
PJ Walker, come on.
P.J. Walker played 3 games.
And out of those games, they needed to win some to get to the playoffs.
I hear you, but he played 3 games.
He beat
You can't
San
overstate
Francisco.
P.J.
DTR.
Walker. Now, again, he didn't play that much.
And then here's the thing: nobody wanted to bring in Joe Flacco. Everybody's like, "Nah, don't forget about Flacco." Okay. Not only did he go get him, but he turned him into like it's Flaccavelli, and he was looking crazy.
Where would you put Kevin Stefanski in your coach ranking?
Man,
Between 8 and 12.
I agree.
I
Somewhere
agree,
8 and 12.
But I agree too. So there's no argument.
But he's 19th on this list.
But
I
tend to put him higher. And it's like saying that you can't call Jokic one of the best centers of all time. Sure you can. He got 3 MVPs. Because he is.
Like an MVP is not the same as a coach of the year, in my opinion. Now, in your opinion, it might be. In my opinion, it's not. It's fine. We're both entitled to our opinions.
Now,
right?
do I rate Super Bowl victories over a coach of the years? Of course. If you got a Super Bowl, that's why I don't get mad. Like when somebody has like McVay.
Yeah.
Well,
he won.
McVay's definitely better.
Yeah,
let's call it spade,
like come on, like
Mike McCarthy, who won a Super Bowl in 2010, 2009.
Yeah, right.
Like, do you still count that Super Bowl as a reason to put him ahead
I would rather have
Stefanski?
Kevin Stefanski than Mike McCarthy.
I think most teams would.
But listen, in this division, you could argue Kevin Stefanski's number 4. You could make that argument.
I have a hard time putting him below Zach Taylor, even though Zach Taylor is the playoffs.
So what's your argument for Stefanski being ahead of Zach Taylor? Give me your argument.
He beats the Bengals a lot.
No, I mean that certainly
What's
helps.
your argument?
I saw what he did last year.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Deshaun's the one quarterback he hasn't been able to get the absolute most
Right,
out of.
right.
He got the best from Baker, unless you want to argue that Tampa Bay
No,
did
he
last
didn't
year,
because
but-
Baker had his best season last year. No, there's no debate.
I mean, his
did.
numbers were better, but
He was better. This is by
whatever.
far his best season.
He got something from Baker that he then lost for 3-4 years before he got it back. He got the most from Jacoby
Not
Brissett.
completely true, but
he
go
got
ahead.
the most from P.J. Walker. He got the most out of Joe Flacco he's seen in a while.
P.J. Walker, he didn't get the. P.J. Walker was terrible.
He beat San Francisco with P.J.
But
and
he
once
didn't
again,
play well.
They won in
Mike,
spite
let's
of P.J.
live
Walker.
in facts land.
I agree.
P.J. Walker didn't play well. They got lucky to
win. He had a
win with him.
game-winning drive with 0 completions. I get that, but he
Yeah.
still allowed P.J. Walker not to completely self-destruct and lose the game.
I mean, you can't take it the best out. P.J. Walker's played 12 games in the league.
And was his best game not San Francisco?
See, the Browns got an opportunity here. I think part of the reason that they rank these guys this at this level is because we kind of lean into the narrative a little bit. Like we are as tough on our teams as anybody is.
No. Maybe you mean like media? The fans of Cleveland are softer on the Browns than any fan bases on any team in the country.
So
we
saying the same. Like for me, when
we're tough on the Cavs and the Guardians. We're not tough on the Browns.
I'm tough on the Browns.
You are, but most of our fans are not.
And the reason, and so when you soft on your team,
Yeah.
the national media is like, you guys are terrible. You guys are trash. Like you don't have nothing to stand on. Like I think the Browns this year have the opportunity to do something great. They got an opportunity to prove a lot of people incorrect. It's set up for them. Like we've heard, and guess what? I kind of like it. People before we talk about the national media and how we wasn't getting no love. Well, when Baker was here and Odell was here, they was picking us to go to the Super Bowl, and we didn't get it done. They was doing a lot of things where we didn't have the years that we should have had when expectations is theirs. Now, people is kind of like, coach of the year, that don't really count. Yeah, y'all went to the playoffs.
Nobody's saying that. I'm not saying it doesn't count. I'm saying we can't overstate what it means.
No.
We're not putting him in the class with George Halas.
No. But they don't put Stefanski in that list of the top guys. Like,
but he shouldn't be because the top guys have won Super Bowls
listen,
or had double-digit wins continuous season.
That's fine. Like I said, I'm all about proving it.
Yeah.
Like I'm a prove me guy. Like if Stefanski and Watson can't get it done, like y'all got all the opportunity to prove people wrong right now because people don't expect y'all to do much.
Now I agree that Kevin Stefanski is probably somewhere in the 8 to 12 range, and personally, as someone who, again, unlike most people, has watched every Browns and every Bengals game in their entire career. I've seen every game that Zach Taylor's coached. I've seen every game that Kevin Stefanski's coached. I bet there are not that many people that can say that. If it was up to me, I think Kevin Stefanski is the better coach. But there are a number of facts that would that people could argue against that.
His playoff record's 5-2. Stefanski's is 1-2.
Exactly.
Their regular season records are the inverse. Zach Taylor's a losing regular season record.
Yeah, but that's misleading.
I know because he had Joe Burrow.
Because in the last few years, Stefanski does have the head-to-head edge. That's the one thing you got. But the point is, we can't make it seem like, Kevin Stefanski belongs there with Sean McVay and Andy Reid.
No,
I mean, that's just silly.
I just thought
19
on the list
19
was
ridiculous.
an egregious number.
19 is an egregious number. It's completely ridiculous. He should be higher. So let's say he belongs 10th. All right, let's say Deshaun.
Split the difference.
And let's say Deshaun Watson is 20th. That still puts you overall probably 16, 17, something like that. But, which is whatever. And what did they finish, 21st?
21st.
Yeah, the Browns should be higher. The Browns should be middle of the pack in that combo. Now, here's what's really important, guys. When we have this conversation next year, hopefully the Browns will be in the top 10.
They better be top 10.
Because Deshaun Watson plays like a top 10 quarterback next year. Because if that happens, then Stefanski's going to get more credibility. Then, you see, what's going to happen is if Deshaun Watson plays like a top 10 quarterback next year, then we're going to forget what happened the last 2 years.
None of it matters.
That's going to be taken out. Right now, we're getting to the point where a lot of people are starting to disregard what Deshaun Watson did in Houston.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I'm of the point where I'm not disregarding that, but I'm wondering if that could be him again.
Just a while ago.
And now what happens, but the narrative will change based on his season. If Deshaun Watson has a bad season, then what he did in Houston is completely off the table for almost everybody. If he has a great season, then we're going to say he was rusty, it was this. None of that mattered for the 2 years he was hurt, and now he's back to the player we thought he was.
Once he's back, he's Deshaun again. And
Exactly.
that's what we'll say.
Exactly.
Before we wrap up, I'm going to go over the numbers because we didn't do the numbers right before the Browns. I'll give you the 2019, 18, 17, 16. Let's just pick Browns, whether it's Stefanski-Watson duo or these other ones that Sports Illustrated ranked. At 20, they had Bowles and Baker. Would you rather Stefanski and Watson or
I
Bowles
would
and
rather
Baker?
Yeah, Stefanski Watson.
I would take the Browns too.
Yeah.
19, the Bears. Matt Eberflus and Caleb Williams.
First of all, I almost cursed on TV. My mother.
I heard the first two
I
letters.
was like, wait, y'all gotta stop it. Are y'all getting paid? Like
It gets worse.
I keep looking at a guy who's never thrown the football that's getting ranked higher on these lists.
And I think Eberflus stinks.
Good
I would take the Browns
gracious.
too. 18, Peyton and Bo Nix.
Yeah, that's absurd.
That's
That's
what I said.
crazy.
This list was horrific.
Yeah.
We should have
again,
counted these down
listen,
earlier.
That's what I'm saying.
Everybody's entitled
Yes.
to their opinion, just like
Can
we
we keep
are. Go
going?
ahead. Yeah.
17, Raheem Morris and Kirk Cousins.
I
think that's a fair. I think you can argue both sides.
yeah.
I would
I mean,
personally take.
Raheem Morris is not better coach.
No.
No,
But Kirk Cousins
has been better than Deshaun Watson.
And they're both coming off
Cousins
injuries.
is old. He's also coming off a serious injury.
I would take the Browns because of the
I
uncertainty.
would lean
of
towards
both.
the Browns on that,
Yep.
too. I'm with you.
16, the Jets. Salah and Aaron Rodgers.
Easy Browns.
I would take the Browns too.
Yeah.
That's
I
my
think
point. When we
Salah-
started and we got
I know
sidetracked.
Jason loves Salah. I think he stinks.
When we got sidetracked, I told you this
He lets
list
Aaron
was terrible.
Rodgers runs roughshod over him.
15, McCarthy and Dak.
I hate McCarthy, but I think Dak is the most underrated quarterback in the league.
And I think he's the most overrated. But
Really?
I will put them above them just because they got
The Browns-
He just
or
doesn't
the-
like him because he's black.
They'll say they don't like him. I was at spring break the time that he got in a fight down there.
Oh,
Dak
yeah.
got into a fight?
He got knocked out.
Got knocked
Really?
out.
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't remember
pretty
that.
Panama
story.
City, man.
You could Google it. I'll read this next two, and you tell me if any of these other ones.
I'm torn on the Cowboy one because I really love Dak, but I don't like McCarthy. So go ahead. Next.
I would hear arguments for both sides. I'm
Yeah.
just going to read the next couple. You tell me if you'd stop at any
Yeah,
of these
yeah.
before the Browns. The Dolphins are 14, McDaniel Tua.
I would definitely take the Browns.
Definitely take the Browns.
I
Yes.
would too.
Eagles 13, Sirianni Hurts.
As much as it fell apart last year, right now I think I'd still have to go Sirianni Hurts for me.
I would too.
12, Jacksonville, Peterson Lawrence.
No,
I would take the
nope.
Browns.
11, Pittsburgh, Tomlin, Russell Wilson.
I would take.
No.
I don't like Russell Wilson.
No, I'm not taking Russell Wilson. Tomlin been 8-8 forever. No.
All right. You know what? Gee, you talked me into it.
And then
It's
the-
probably insane that we're saying that, but I'll take the Browns.
And the top 10, I think I don't think there's really an argument to put Stefanski and Watson over. Detroit at 9.
No.
Detroit 10, San Francisco
No.
9. It just refreshed on my phone. Buffalo 8.
No.
My
No.
phone would stop refreshing. Cincinnati 7, which is
Yeah, no, you can't.
Chargers 6. There's there you
I
can.
mean, he hasn't coached in a while in the NFL. There's been a lot of great coaches that have come back for a second run and it hasn't
haven't
gone
been good.
well.
I mean, they give
I don't understand how they're 6.
I don't either.
Is he living off of the
Yeah.
49ers years?
He has, by the way, he has Harbaugh, the 7th best NFL head coach, and Herbert, the 6th best quarterback.
Yeah. What did he have, Zach Taylor?
The 12th best head coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think Zach Taylor is probably right there, about 12, maybe
Would you
14, maybe 15.
today? Would you hire Harbaugh over Stefanski? Today.
That's a tough question.
It's tough because Harbaugh's a great coach, but
Today?
I'm probably stupid, but I would take Stefanski.
I would like.
Probably wrong,
ain't no like. I didn't see. If we gonna go into Deshaun Watson and say we ain't seen it in a while, we got to do the same with
That's
Harbaugh,
fair.
right?
That's fair. That's fair.
We ain't
And then
seen it.
Top 5 was Green Bay, Houston.
Yeah,
This
I mean,
is
LA,
super high. That
Baltimore.
one.
Well, I'll say this about
KC.
Green Bay. As much as a pain in the ass as Aaron Rodgers was, he kept winning. Now, he didn't have a great playoff success. And Jordan Love, who nobody was sure he was getting good, guy played like a superstar last year.
Yeah.
Especially
well.
in the second half. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Played well.
The second half. So I got a lot of respect for the Packers.
That's a lot. That's high too. It's
So what
high.
did we end up with? Just what ultimately we all said.
Between-
He's somewhere between 8 and 12.
Which, to be ranked 21st and 19th, shows how
Sure.
bad this list was. So
Sure.
big picture,
but
we're on
a
the same
lot of
page.
that ranking, ultimately the worst part of it for the Browns was where was Stefanski ranked.
Yeah.
He was ranked too low.
Yeah.
He should have been 9 or 10 or 8 or 11,
Somewhere in that
whatever.
range, yeah.
He shouldn't have been 19. The Watson things, I don't know how the rankings
It's
of
a
the quarterback
complete
was. He
unknown.
probably maybe could have been 1 or 2 spots higher. But that's it. All right, we switch gears from football to baseball. Go ahead, Anthony.
Before we get into baseball, guys, I want to remind you that sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off of our chest. Big or small, certain things can really start to get to you. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased in your life. So today, I want to tell you guys about something I really feel close to, and it's the devastation that I feel that I missed the Freeman tying home run last night live. But therapy can help, and therapy can be different for everybody. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports teams, and it's important to get the things off your chest every once in a while. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online and designed to be flexible and suitable to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn.
All right, Guardians with a great come-from-behind victory last night.
What a win. What a game.
It was a great game. I am very concerned about Tristan McKenzie, who's been.
Oh,
Can we say that for the Yankees? We talk about the good first.
yeah.
Well, all right, let's talk about the good. The good is the Bats came alive, a 5-run 7th inning, led them to a victory. Jose Ramirez continued to add to his RBI total. Josh Naylor hit, I think, his 16th home run of the
16th
year. Tyler Freeman hit his 5th home run of the year. Jose got on base twice. And that home run by Tyler Freeman tied it up. But it was the error by
big
Bobby
play,
Witt.
Boy.
That was a crazy play. Do we have that play?
We do.
So don't play it yet. Don't play it yet. This is it?
Yep.
Right. Okay. So don't play it. So the Guardians were down 5-3. Freeman hits the 2-run homer to tie it. Then the Guardians load the bases. I think there were 2 walks. Didn't Ramirez and Naylor both walk?
Yep.
I think. So it's bases loaded, 2 outs. And David Fry, who's been Mr. Clutch, actually did not come through. He had a routine ground ball to shortstop in a 5-5 game. But things were going the Guardians' way, as they have often been this year. Here's what happened.
And Witt hit 2 home runs earlier in the game, by the way. He was having an awesome game,
Yep.
and then catastrophe.
so
3 runs scored on that play.
to put it in perspective, when
Yeah.
the shortstop has that ball, almost never does the runner going to second ever beat that.
Never.
Ever.
And that was Josh Naylor running. I
Yeah.
mean, think about it. Show that again.
It's on replay.
You have a
It'll
slow
come.
runner going to second, but Josh Naylor, and there's a lot of players, because that's a routine play
Yep.
that would not have been hustling the second base.
Ever.
And that's why Bobby Witt ran there, because he thought it'd be an easy play. But look at Naylor, he's flying down, and he knew he couldn't get there, so he stopped and he threw, and he still had time.
Yeah,
if he had made a good throw, Fry was going to be out at first.
And
Most
that starts,
likely.
and Bo, I want to point this out because
Yeah.
Naylor, who busted
He
his
got caught in
ass down the
between.
line,
Yeah.
that starts with Jose. We talked about it on Monday with Jose's base running. We talk about it all
Yeah.
the time with Jose Ramirez.
Yeah.
He plays every play like it's his last play.
Yep.
And when your best player sets the tone like that,
Yeah.
the other guys follow. And the Guardians this season, from the first game to now the 60th game or whatever number it is.
60.
60.
Yeah, 40 and
40
20. Yeah.
Have made every little play, every night, every single time they've been called upon. And it trickles down from Jose to everyone else down the roster.
Yeah.
And I think it even starts with Stephen Vogt, too, inspiring and having these guys believe in the fact that, hey, we may not hit 300 home runs. We'll be top 10, Tyvus. Shout out to Tyvus. But we're not gonna, we have to do all the little things.
Finish top 10. I think they'll
but whatever it
finish
is,
11 and 15,
we have to do the little things to help us win all these games. And it starts with Jose, who does it every single night on every single play. And it trickles down to guys like Josh Naylor, who in that situation, that's an out 97% of the time. But because he's busting his ass, it puts Bobby Witt in a bang-bang thinking situation, makes a bad throw, 3-run score, guards win.
That was a good slide to break up a double play too. Like the reason,
but it was 2 outs.
Well,
though.
no double play.
It was 2 outs.
But the reason he stepped aside, it was like, I'm going to first base.
That's right.
Is because he was barreling down on him, and he was right on top of him.
Yep.
And if you want to get them cleats from Naylor, who's about 250, it seems like you don't want to parse of that. And so he forced a bad throw. And it's just little stuff like that. Like you don't count on that stuff in Major League Baseball. That's more like, I saw that in high school or college.
It doesn't show up in a box score.
It don't show up in a box score. Don't show up as some home run or RBI or whatever the case may be. But it shows up that you were able to get guys in scoring position and tie that game.
Yeah. And it's funny, Rick Manning on the broadcast said, I think he was trying to turn a double play where there were 2 outs.
Right.
So even he was confused because that looked like a play where you'd step on second, throw to first in a double play. And if Naylor had not been hustling, it could have been, in theory, if there was only 1 out, a double play. Again, when you look at the play, David Fry on a good throw is out by a mile. Yeah. It's not close at first. But Bobby Witt, without really looking, and listen, Bobby Witt's a great player. He's one of the best young players in the game. I would trade almost any player in baseball to get him. But he assumed that it was going to be easy play at second. He knew before the play Josh Naylor was running. He knows Josh Naylor's not fast. And he's thinking, because you're always, as a good ball player is thinking about what he's going to do when the ball comes in play all the time.
Yep.
And he's thinking, I'm right here, close, I'm going to step on second. And he realized before he got to the base, in his head, I'm not getting there. Naylor's going to beat me. I got to make the throw to first. But by the time he watch him. By the time he makes that decision, he's not looking at Naylor. Then he realizes now he's off balance.
And he's throwing and he's sliding. It's like a fadeaway jump shot. He's fading away.
Half of his body's this way. So now he's got to kind of make an awkward throw.
But
that's an awkward throw there.
Let me ask you this though, Bull. Listen, is there a chance that he forgot how many outs there were? Because, look, if I'm a shortstop, that's a can of corn. Yeah. That's an easy ground ball. Most people pat it and throw it to first base, and it's over.
I don't think so because you could tell he threw to first before stepping on the base.
Yeah.
So he knew he had to get 1 out. I guess it's possible for a moment.
Yeah.
I just think when you look at him, show it one more time, Anthony. Look how close he is to second base when he gets the ball.
Yeah.
99 times out of 100, that's an out at second base. And 60 times out of 100, it's an out by a mile at second base.
And Naylor's taken off on the crack of the bat with 2 outs.
Right.
And that's part of the reason he was able to get to second base as quickly as he was.
So watch
as soon as that goes
look
up.
Look how close Bobby Witt is to the base. I mean, he's right there. So he's, normally a routine grounder to short, in this situation you're going to throw to first. But because he's running to second base and is that close, he was thinking, it'll be an easy out. And then he thought that for a millisecond. And then when he looked, he's like, he's saying, oh, shit. I'm not beating him there. Yeah. What the hell's Naylor doing here this fast?
Yeah.
It's really crazy that Naylor got down the base that fast.
And it goes back to the base running, the secondary lead he took, the movement on the crack of the bat. And even before that, can we go back to the Freeman home run for 1 sec?
Yeah.
And we pulled up the Freeman home run.
Show that, yeah.
That was such a good swing by Freeman because it was a pretty damn good pitch. It was a breaking ball low in the zone. Watch how Freeman tracks the ball on a pretty good pitch. It's not a hanging breaking ball by any means.
That's a tough pitch to hit for a home run because it's low and inside.
It's low, and we'll show you Witt's home run earlier when he hit it off McKenzie. McKenzie left that breaking ball in the upper half of the zone, 77. That's essentially on a platter for a hitter of Bobby Witt Jr.'s caliber. In this situation, he went digging for that, and to have the power to hit that into the left field bleachers bowl on a low 80-mile-an-hour breaking ball, the way he tracked that pitch, that was an incredible swing.
I've never liked when pitchers throw non-traditional power hitters breaking pitches. Because to me, I don't want to speed your bat up. You batting 7th,
Yeah.
8th, 9th for a reason. I'm not gonna give you an opportunity to sit on a curveball. Now it was a good pitch and he hit a good pitch, but I'm not a big fan of that. If I'm up there, I'm trying to blow it past you.
The thing that's very interesting is Seth Lugo. I was talking about this yesterday. This guy has been in the Cy Young conversation for the first 2 months of the season.
Oh, he was dealing.
He's been great, and the Guardians scored 5 runs off him. I think it's only the second game all year he's given up more than 2 runs, I believe, maybe 3.
I think the second game over 3 runs.
Yeah,
He was rolling in this game.
And he was rolling, and then the Guardians fell behind early. They came back. The
Scored
Royals
8
increased
unanswered
the lead.
runs.
It was a great job, and to get 5 runs off this guy who's been pretty. I mean, he's got like a 2.20 ERA after this start, so that tells you how good he was pitching before this. It was a great performance. The Guardians now season high, 20 games over 500.
Start Nick Sandlin today too.
Yeah, that's more of an opener type of thing. I think Logan Allen's supposed to pitch today. Here's what I suspect is happening. The Guardians announced that Nick Sandlin is going to start.
I have his numbers if you want them. That's your.
Well, it doesn't matter. Here's what's happening today. So, the weather's bad for tonight. Mm-hmm. So I think what the Guardians are doing is they're worried about the game getting started and then the rain wiping it out, or
they have to come back and restart it.
So what they're going to do is they're going to pitch Sandlin for the first inning or two, and then they'll go to Logan Allen. They're using him as an opener, not really a starter.
I thought it was a little different reason. Now, I didn't look at the weather forecast. Full disclosure, I did not look at the weather forecast. Yeah. But Logan Allen's been good against lefties this year. He's been horrific against righties. You ready for these splits, Bull?
Yeah.
I know you like numbers.
Yeah.
Against lefties this season, where Logan Allen is a lefty pitcher.
Yeah.
A 244 opponent batting average, a 706 opponent OPS. Solid.
Right.
Against righties this year.
Yeah.
Righties are hitting 317 off Logan Allen with a 948 OPS.
Yeah, that's pretty disturbing.
The top of the Royals lineup, their best hitters, Bobby Witt, the other guy's top of the lineup, John Blanks.
Salvador Perez.
Mostly righties. So I thought they were going Sandlin at least through the first top of the lineup iteration, so Logan Allen only faced him twice.
Either way, he's not a real starter. He's an opener.
Exactly.
Teams use openers. The Guardians haven't really done that this year. A lot of teams do it. That is a reason.
That's one reason I thought.
A lot of times teams do it with their weaker starters, so their weaker starters can avoid the best part of the lineup in the first inning. It's a smart move. Yeah. So you take a good pitcher, a good relief pitcher, who's really good in one inning, and you have him face the best of the lineup. So, in theory, if a guy like Logan Allen is going to pitch 5 innings, well, now he's only going to face those best hitters 2 times or maybe even 1 time
as opposed to
2 or 3.
And because of the splits and how bad he's been against righties and the Royals' best hitters being right-handed hitters, that's kind of why I was thinking that's the strategy.
That certainly could play a factor. I think it has to do with the weather, too. I think they don't want to waste, they don't want to have him pitch 1 inning or 2 innings.
And then,
I know he pitched terribly in his last start. I think maybe last 2 starts. But he pitched really well before that. I mean, listen, Logan Allen's a back end of the rotation starter.
He is what he is.
The Tristan McKenzie, it's been a weird season for him.
We got to get to that.
Yeah, we have to talk about that.
He started off struggling, then he was pitching great. Well, it should be going like this: struggling, then great, and now he's starting to struggle again. Now, again, he had 7 strikeouts in this one. That's a positive, but he gave up 3 home runs?
Yeah, and 2 were on the exact same pitch.
Yeah. He is leaving way too many. What's the word I'm looking for? Way too many cookies.
I thought
over the plate.
I thought that the one, it was a curveball that
didn't curve.
That didn't curve. He hit out, and then he threw a fastball that was like 90, 91.
The 2 home runs
above the letters that he was able to get.
The Royals hit 3 home runs.
Yeah.
One of Bobby Witt's was on a hanging breaking ball, which was, like I said, Tyler Freeman went down.
Right.
That's a great swing. The one against Bobby Witt, that was not a good pitch. The other home run that Hunter Renfroe hit and the second of the Bobby Witt home runs were 91-mile-an-hour fastballs, letter high.
Yeah.
And you're not blowing that by anybody.
If you're throwing a fastball at 91,
that's high school,
it's got to either be up here or below the knees.
Or on the corner. But these we have the tag which
you can't, if you throw 91-mile-an-hour fastballs in the middle of the plate at the belly button or at the top of the belly,
it's getting clobbered like it did yesterday.
To Bobby Witt, and like Hunter Renfroe's a limited player, but he's not going to make, he's a big power hitter.
I knew that was going. As soon as I said, he went opposite.
So
field.
it's a concern. Listen, the pitching staff
And that's the breaking ball.
is a problem right now. The starting rotation is a problem. Once again, though,
He smoked that, by the way.
the bullpen lights
Phenomenal.
out.
Incredible.
Cade Smith,
He killed this one.
Scott Barlow, and Emmanuel Clase combined to go, was it 3 1/3 or 3 2/3? What did McKenzie pitch? 5 1/3 or 5
Five and a third.
So 3 2/3 out of the pen. They gave up one hit between them, one walk, which was by Clase, a rare base runner allowed. I think they had 3 strikeouts, so not a ton of strikeouts by the pen, but Clase walked the batter. Besides that, it was a 1-2-3 inning.
You know what makes me nervous a little bit? People say, are the Guardians, is this sustainable? I think it's sustainable for the regular season. I do. I think they're going to have a great season. I think they'll have, one of the top three records in the AL. And I think they'll win this division going away. Now,
I don't think they're going to win it going away.
Well,
I think the Twins will be there, and I think the Royals may be there, but I think the Twins will be there.
Well, here's the way I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
That was a huge game because the Royals was up 5-0. That game was supposed to be a game where you can gain a whole game on the Guardians, and they let them come back.
Yep.
Now you got a couple more games in the series. If the Guardians win this series or sweep this series, they're looking terrible. That's a lot of games. To me, I think the thing that doesn't scare me, I'm a little worried about is when I go into the postseason, I at least want one part of the game that I feel like
It's locked down.
I'm locked down. My starting pitching is crazy.
Well, the bullpen.
Or the bullpen is
They have that with the
So he had
bullpen,
that with the bullpen, but it's like if I would rather want like 4 things or 5 things, whether it was defense, I take defense last. I would take bullpen second to last. But I would take starting pitching or power hitting first or second.
Yeah, I listen, there are some fair concerns about this team in the long run. There's no doubt. Right now, the Orioles and Yankees, even though they have Yankees are a couple games better than the Guardians, and the Guardians are a half game ahead of the Orioles. I look at the Orioles and Yankees rosters, and they're better. There's no doubt about it. Those teams are better teams. Now, is the gap huge? I don't think it is. I was on foul territory yesterday. We were debating how much better those teams are. Those guys think they're significantly better. I think those teams are better, but not a gap that's insurmountable. The big difference right now is the Orioles have an ace in Corbin Burns. He's an ace. He's a sure thing. The Yankees, I'll give the Yankees credit. I hate to. Their rotation's been phenomenal. Top to bottom, their entire rotation has been absolutely sensational. They have a rookie, if you're not paying attention to anything but the Guardians,
Hill.
They have a rookie named Luis Gil.
Heel, yeah.
Spelled Gil. It's pronounced Heel. This kid has been remarkable. He's probably going to win the Rookie of the Year in the American League the way he's pitching. Their rotation's been lights out, and that's without getting a single start from Garrett Cole, who made his first rehab start. I thought Garrett Cole missed the year. It's trending in the right direction, but we know that when Garrett Cole comes back, he's an ace.
Guardians. I just chalked that up for one run.
Right.
1 to 2 runs, maybe.
Now,
against that
the
team.
Orioles and Yankees have significantly better lineups than the Guardians. Top to bottom, they do. That's it. They have better. Okay? The Guardians have a major edge on Baltimore in the bullpen. They have an edge on the Yankees in the bullpen, but not as big as with the Orioles. Their closer, Clay Holmes, has been almost as good as Clase. He's probably been the second best reliever in baseball. Their depth in the pen, they've pitched well out of the pen. Their pen's not as good as the Guardians, but it's not a big gap. And the Yankees have a significant edge on the Guardians in starting rotation and lineup. The Guardians are better base running team than both those teams. They're better a defensive team than both those teams. But those teams are really good. And here's what I know. The Yankees will spend to get better. The Orioles will probably spend to get better. I don't know about the Guardians, and they have more holes than those teams. So if they're going to be truly competitive with those teams in the playoffs, as you talk about, they've got to get better. They have to get better at starting pitching, and they have to get better in the lineup.
I texted the group chat this last night.
Yeah.
And this is my expert analysis of the Guardians through 60 games. They're a fun-ass baseball team. And every time you think they're out of it, they're not. And every time you think, this can't sustain and they can't keep playing at this level, they do. And last night, down 5-0 to Seth Lugo, who's been arguably the best pitcher in the American League this season, or at least one of them. They find a way, and it's Tyler Freeman, and it's Naylor, and it's Jose, and then it's an error on a play from Bobby Witt, who had 4 RBIs and 2 home runs yesterday, and it's Naylor beating out a throw. this team is fun, and I'm enjoying watching Guardians baseball night in and night out in a way which last season and the year before, I just didn't have that same exuberance on a night-to-night basis.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's just the players playing well. Winning obviously plays a factor in it. This is not a shot at Tito, but somehow changing from Tito to Stephen Vogt has kind of invigorated some of the guys in the lineup.
Oh, the team's been more aggressive.
They've been more aggressive, and it's all coming together to
Yeah.
the cumulative product that right now the Guardians are almost must-watch TV in my mind. They're fun as hell right now, G.
McNuggets, I'm going to make this. Don't steal this at home. Don't be stealing this. I want to hear this. My analogies on baseball tonight. I don't even know that's still on. See, when you look at the we talk about the Cavs, right? And they talk about their core four, and we always talk about, well, how can the Cavs take the next step and get to the NBA playoffs? So we talk about specific people taking that next step. Well, the Guardians unsuspectingly have a core four too. Jimenez, Quan, Jose Ramirez, and Naylor. And for me, I feel like you know what Quan gonna do.
Oh, yeah.
You know what he brings to the table, right? You know what Jose Ramirez is bringing to the table. The two guys, for them to be on the level of the Yankees, I need Naylor to take that step where it's just not 25. If he can give me 30 home runs, now all bets are off. If Jimenez,
he's on pace for about 40 right now.
if he can keep that up, and if Jimenez can give me somewhere in the 20s, low 20s, still give me the glove work, now you look at what you got. You got Quan leading off. You know what he can do in the bases. You know he's going to hit. You got Jose Ramirez. He's going to be a guy that's going to lead the league in RBIs. And then you got power with Naylor. And then you got Jimenez that's going to offer something. And then your wild card is Fry. That's Karis LeVert.
Right.
Karis LeVert could give you 50. Fry looks like he's gonna be able to give you something. So they got some guys that if they step their game up throughout the season, I'll say like, hey, they can hang with the Yankees or Baltimore. But they got a ways to go.
Yeah, and they still need a shortstop, I think. I don't want to keep going with the shortstop situation they have. They need to get better there. I hope they will. They're going to need a starting pitcher. But, yeah, they're playing great baseball. I like the fact, listen, Terry Francona is a Hall of Fame manager. I don't know where they'd be if Terry Francona was the manager this year. It's an interesting thing to ponder. It's impossible to say. I will say that I thought in the last couple of years they played way too conservatively. They did not allow in some cases, he stuck with the veterans. I don't think I think if Francona were here, Miles Straw would be here. By the way, Miles Straw is playing terribly in the minors.
In AAA, yeah.
In the minors, he's not a major league player. I have said it for years, or he's a bench player at best. It was a stupid contract that they wasted money on, and now we're seeing that's 100% true.
You know who been hitting the ball?
Who?
Will Brennan been hitting a little bit.
He's been all right.
He been hitting a little bit. I think what is he? He done hit in the last 4, 5, 6 games.
Yeah, I mean he's been all right. They need a little more.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that like in the past years they did so much sacrifice bunting. They're really not doing that at all. Sacrifice bunts suck. They're giving up outs. Right. We don't have pitchers hitting anymore. I don't need to sacrifice bunt. I should always be playing for more runs. So I like the way they're playing. I do think Stephen Vogt has brought an energy. The whole organization has had a change of philosophy in terms of being more aggressive at the plate, and it has paid off in a big-time way.
They used to take all these pitches, and I'm just looking around like,
yeah.
If you're in the middle of the order, you shouldn't be – your goal is not to go deep in the count. We don't want – who cares if the other guys can't see pitches behind you? They can't hit it anyway. Your job is to hit home runs and put points on the board. Yeah. Why are we taking all these pitches and being so conservative? I think Stephen Vogt came in and was like,
Well, they didn't change the hitting coach, right? It's still Chris Valaika.
Right.
So
what's
the
philosophy
changed?
Of
it's
the
the philosophy of the organization.
No and all the guys have taken to it, and they seem really energized by having a young manager. Terry Francona, not that he was a bad manager for young guys, but he tended to connect with the older players more. And I think Stephen Vogt is a guy who can connect with the younger players more because he just retired. And, even though he's closer in age, obviously, to the older players, still, he's playing a new school brand of baseball. And I love it. And they needed that. And that has nothing to do with Terry Francona as a manager. It was time for a change.
Yeah.
They made the change at the right time, and right now it looks like they changed to the right guy.
And by the way, I commend the Guardians. I know Shaw did. I know what y'all did. y'all done heard that feedback, right? Yeah, them uniforms. Y'all wearing these city boys out. Y'all like, listen, these is it. Don't nobody want to see that. No one wants to see them other joints. You doing right? Keep rocking these city joints. They the best in the league. And they like, somebody was like,
They haven't lost to them yet.
Our marketing.
Is that true?
Our
Yeah.
marketing focus group said that they hate the new logo. We come back with that C and the CLE with the blue. Them joints is fire. Keep wearing them. Yeah, I know the
I like the
NBA.
stripes on the side.
The NBA, they just let you wear any jersey. I don't know what, like some of them in the finals, they just let you wear anything you want. I've never seen some of these Dallas Mavericks uniforms, but that's another story. But like the NFL be like, you can only wear this 3 times a year.
Right.
They did a good job of getting their focus
love
group
it.
together.
The Guardians changed head coaches. It worked. Their managers in baseball, it worked. It
Yeah,
reinvigorated
that's
the
Mike's
roster.
attempt to, transition on
Yes,
there.
that's
See if the Cavs can do it too.
Yeah. Go ahead, Anthony.
All right, guys. Before we move on to the Cavs, I want to remind everybody that it's winners take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and so much more. All you guys have to do is visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
All right, we switch from the Guardians to the Cavaliers. Obviously, the Cavs in the process of looking for a new head coach. We've talked about this already a number of times in terms of, they seem to be in no rush to hire a new coach. But I think the question is right now, is the coach we've been talking about changing the team around. But is there an argument to be made that all they need to do is change the coach and they could stick with this team and take it to another level?
Unequivocally, no.
Yeah.
That is not it. That ain't. Look, LeBron. Let me just give you this. LeBron James talks about this kind of stuff all the time. He's kind of foreshadowing. He sat there and he talked about how crazy Kyrie Irving is, right? How what his game is like. And the thing I've been always saying from the get-go is, it's not so much of continuity. It's about, do you got ball players? Do you have somebody that can compete at the highest level when you need it to get done? I always say it. We talk about, one of the things that I heard that I was appalled by was, well, we didn't have all our guys together. And I keep telling people, don't nobody have all their guys together. If you want to say we lost to the Celtics or we didn't get what we needed done because Jared Allen was hurt, well, listen, the Celtics didn't have Porzingis, and he's better than Jared Allen. So what are you planning on doing if they're healthy and you're healthy? You're still going to get beat. Like, it's not like other guys don't have major pieces and parts of their units that are out that you got to deal with. It happens all the time. Just go up and down. Jimmy Butler was out of this playoff series.
It's a war of attrition.
It's it's just Embiid was looking like Harvey Dent. He couldn't even close his eye. He was looking like Two-Face. Like, this is crazy. He couldn't, at the end of the day, I'm like, no, under no circumstances can they say, oh, we got a new coach in here, and then still ignore what we've already seen the data say? It's something to be said for those 2 and 2s. It's Allen and Mobley, and it's Garland and Mitchell. Can you play together with those guys, and are you going to be able to be better than the dudes that they it's just, no, I don't know.
Can you come out and play? That's from?
No.
Somebody out there knows it. Can you come out and play? What's that from? It's a basketball movie. Somebody out there should know it. I gave you one line from the
I
song.
almost said it's from Three's Company.
It's not from Three's Company.
Like
Knock
Mike.
on the door. I'll be waiting for you. Same flow, yeah.
Three's Company too.
Yeah,
Ba-da-ba-da-ba.
that was creepy. Another show that would not last. You cannot.
Oh my
No.
God!
Like nowadays, there's
They
a
were
whole lot of.
all like sexual abusers. All those people.
Yeah, they're like,
Mr.
yo,
Furley.
man, all of them just creep-tastic.
They were disgusting.
I want to push back a little bit on what G said, but I
Yeah.
agree with his big point.
Okay.
The Cavs do have ball players.
They got them. They got some.
Do the ball players fit together in a way that leads to championship level basketball? Now, that's the question I think I have an answer to, but we'll have to see what the new head coach thinks when they look
we
at
know the answer.
this roster. I think the answer is no. And I think at the end of the day,
Yeah.
DG and Mitchell, I think you can find a way to make that work. I just think philosophically speaking, two non-shooting bigs, really two non-shooting players in the same lineup is not conducive to winning at the highest level in today's NBA. And when you look at some of the numbers, you mentioned these numbers, right? We heard Kobe Altman talk about the net rating, and it shows that this core four and the two bigs together.
We got to stop calling it the core four.
Just hear me out.
It was marketing.
The four guys on the poster over by the field.
Yeah, but just hear me out. And Kobe Altman literally at his end of season presser comes out and says, the net rating and the data shows us X, Y, and Z to why this works. What he doesn't show you is the playoff numbers.
Right.
And that's where I think there's a big disconnect, because if you want to tell me the core four is good enough to win 50 games in the regular season and maybe win a playoff round if it's the right matchup, then fine, I'll believe you, because we've seen it actually work. But is the core four in its current iteration with whoever's at head coach good enough to compete with the Bostons and the Dallases and the Denvers and the Milwaukees? I know this year was a little different from Milwaukee, but with those caliber of teams for championships year in and year out? And frankly, my answer is no, and you want the data. Because you look at the regular season and the net ratings are all good. A net rating, Bull, for anyone out there, is your offensive rating, which is points scored per 100 possessions, and your defensive rating, which is points allowed per 100 possessions, and the net rating is the difference between the two. Anything positive, good. Anything negative, bad. Altogether, the core four, right, in two postseasons has played 1,052 possessions together. That's not a small sample size. That is a large sample size. The core four together in the playoffs has a -7 net rating, which is not good. And shout out to Carter, and I forget his last name, who put this on Twitter for me to find.
Shout out.
Shout out Carter. He does the Cavs blog, the Chase Down blog, podcast for the Cavs, which was awesome. And he put these out there. So together as a core four in the playoffs, they have a -7 net rating. You look at the individual pairings, DG and Donovan together in the playoffs, a -4.71 net rating. Darius on the court without Donovan, any other player, -18.57 net rating. Very bad. Donovan without Darius and whoever else, a +3.63, at least serviceable. That is the only positive net rating of any of these pairings that they have.
Here's the deal.
Which goes to show you in the playoffs,
Yeah.
what has worked in the regular season had not worked against the better competition.
Okay. First of all, Kobe Altman, let's face it, Kobe Altman should have been fired same time as JB. Why does Kobe get to keep his job and JB doesn't?
I've been asking that for about 2 weeks.
Can you give me a legitimate argument why?
He's done a pretty good job assembling talent. In a place that's tough to assemble
No, he
talent.
hasn't.
Yes, he has.
No.
He has.
Well, first of all, he traded for his most talented player.
Which is part of a GM.
I understand that. But you said, it's a hard place to accumulate talent. He traded for nobody. Not like he got a great free agent to sign here.
That's my point.
Donovan Mitchell had no choice.
That's my point, though. It's hard to do. It's hard to get guys to sign.
Donovan Mitchell had no choice. Number two, okay, it's not just what he. First of all, they've won one playoff series since he's been here.
That's fair.
He ruined their previous run by that terrible Kyrie Irving trade.
Bad deal.
Terrible.
Bad deal.
It was a horrible trade.
Yep.
Signing Kevin Love to an extension. Horrible decision.
That wasn't him, though.
I don't care who it was. It's on his resume.
Fair.
Horrible decision. Plus, he embarrassed the whole organization by getting busted for a DUI. Why does that get ignored?
Also
You're
fair.
the GM of the team. You can't get DUI. What an idiot.
Listen, I'm not saying he should stay. I'm just giving you why.
Okay?
It's his talent.
It's not good enough. It's not good enough. It takes a genius to know Donovan Mitchell's a good player. And was that really that complicated?
He's made some good moves. He's made some bad moves, too.
The Jared Allen move was a nice trade. But I have never seen a GM spend more time hyping up meaningless regular season than Kobe Altman. Is there anybody that talks more about the regular season?
That's the most egregious
Yeah.
part. Like, and here's my thing. Like, yeah, you did some stuff to get some players, but the day is coming. So they got excited about this move. You got Giannis and Damian Lillard coming back. If Giannis does not get hurt, you are not a better team than them. You got to understand that Joel Embiid is coming back, and he averaged 30, and Maxey is a dude,
Right.
and they're not going. And they're going to add some pieces too.
The Knicks.
And the Knicks, I'm gonna tell you something. You got an All NBA player in Julius Randle who has not even played last year. OG Anunoby was hurt most of the time.
Brunson was hurt in the
Brunson got hurt.
series.
Josh Hart got hurt.
Josh Hurt.
Mitchell Robinson.
Now, Mitchell Robinson and Hartenstein. So you telling me they got bigs, they got rough riders, they got people that's going to beat you up.
Yeah.
And
you didn't even mention Boston.
I didn't even say nothing about Boston, right? So all that talk about, Like, when you start adding up, it's levels to this, man. You got a nice squad. And by the way, we saw what Orlando was looking like with no shooters and what Ben Carroll was doing. Next year, he might, if they take a step, you looking crazy. The Hawks got the first pick, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
So my thing is, you agree, you think you're in a good, you're lying to yourself. In the NBA, there is no, I found this out the hard way. There was no way in the NBA that you could say it's a progression where it's year to year and you're just going to keep taking steps. I'm old enough to remember when Harden, Westbrook, and KD in their prime all played on the same team, and they didn't win not one championship.
No. And really, like, if the Cavs don't get better, like, talent-wise, they're never really going to get past this. They're not going to get to the conference finals
and
because the competition, those 4 teams are all better.
And they're young. They're 12 years old.
And that's my point. It works in the regular season, but just because it works in the regular season doesn't mean it necessarily works in the postseason. No matter who you bring in as a head coach, even if you unlock certain levels to this offense, like they interviewed requested permission to interview David Adelman, who's the head assistant for Denver. And one of the things he does is he's their offensive coordinator in Denver. He's known to want to run like a more rigid offensive system. They run organized, structured basketball more than JB did, more than most teams in the NBA did. So even if you put the Cavs' current talent in a system like that, and you can unlock another level of Evan Mobley as a playmaker. You heard that, right?
Yeah,
someone's going to the parking lot. Yeah. Even if you were to unlock that next level of whatever iteration the Cavs are, I just don't think they have the horses to go against some of the teams you guys just named. So when you look at this big picture, regardless of who's on the sideline coaching this team, I just don't think the connection of the core 4 fits the way it needs to win at the highest level.
And I mentioned that Kobe.
And real quick, sorry. I said Carter gave those stats. That was Justin Rowan. I want to make sure I give credit. Justin Rowan of the Chase Down Pod.
I mentioned Kobe botching the Kyrie trade that basically ended the first Cavs run. It was a terrible trade that they made. Speaking of Kyrie, it's been a disaster for Kyrie since leaving the Cavs. Every team he's been on has gotten worse with him until this year.
And we'll be getting to that in a minute.
The Celtics were a disaster with him. They were better without. The Mavs completely fell apart with him last year. But this year, and he's not obviously their best player. He's their second best player. But they're having a tremendous season, and now they're playing in the NBA Finals. Let's go to Anthony.
Yeah, guys, we're going to get to that Kyrie topic here in a minute, but I want to remind everybody, or actually not even remind everybody, Mike's doing an Ultimate Cavs tonight. Mike, you want to tell the people what you're talking about tonight?
I am. We're going to do an Ultimate Cavs. We're going to do a little head coaching search update. We're going to talk some NBA draft prospects because the NBA draft is 3 weeks from today, Bull, and we have not dove into some of the guys that could interest the Cleveland Cavaliers at number 20. We're also going to talk a little more in depth about the core 4, what facets of it work, what facets of it don't work. So make sure you guys tune in 5 o'clock today for the Ultimate
Number
Cavaliers
1,
show.
it's not dove in, it's diving in.
What did I say?
You said dove in. We haven't dove in. Doesn't make any sense.
We haven't divin in?
We haven't dived in.
We haven't dived in? Whatever.
Bull's an English teacher.
Anyway,
Whatever,
number 2, you guys apparently didn't tell Steve that Earl was coming on stage because we got the video of Earl pushing the chair.
Earl, hey, Steve knew. We talked about it.
I had to mention Ultimate Cavaliers faster than I did. That's on me. Bad job out of me.
I like to point out the mistakes. Number 3, do we really care about the NBA draft, Mike? I mean, that's all you got for us today?
It's 3 weeks from today.
Breakdown of the 20th pick in the draft.
We're going to talk about some of the prospects that could fit.
Just so Earl can tell us that guy's going to be the next superstar. Earl is out on stage.
Absolutely. Whoever the Cavs draft at 20, major role player next year.
Right.
He getting 10 minutes a game. So going to average 8 points a game. Watch.
Real quick, if they draft a wing, who's ahead on the depth chart? Amani or this rookie to start next season?
MJ Emerson.
Stop playing. Y'all crazy. Hey, Chris Fito, I'm telling you right now, bro. Understand. Amani Bates going to get his money off regardless.
What are you averaging next year, G?
I'm going to give him about 10 points.
10
In
points?
the G League?
No. His red shirt year is over.
In Canada?
His red shirt year is done. Hey, the red shirt is over. I'm telling you right now, whoever they bring in, stop playing.
Because it's all about player development. Right?
Yes, you
right.
should.
Well, we got Earl here for a reason, and so set up the topic, and we'll explain why Earl's on the set with us.
All right, guys, so 2016, we win the championship with Kyrie. He leaves 2019? 2018?
Forced his way out.
Yeah, forced his way out, played with the Celtics, moved around. Like Bull mentioned, every team has gotten worse until now. And the Dallas Mavericks are headed to the finals against the Boston Celtics. Are people in Cleveland rooting for Kyrie? What do you guys think?
I think so. I'm not rooting for either team. I dislike both teams. I'm not, but I would think it's funny because at the time when Kyrie forced his way out, I remember the news broke when we were doing a show at Browns training camp, and or maybe it was a mini camp, whatever it was. We were in Berea, and I went bananas that the Cavs were even considering trading Kyrie. It was so stupid, and I was so angry, and then I was angry at him for forcing his way out. And so I couldn't imagine that, and fans were obviously in agreement. I remember at the time thinking, there's no way I could never have imagined fans would be rooting for Kyrie. But my guess is the majority of fans will root for Kyrie, and part of it is they're playing the Celtics, and nobody's going to root for the Celtics. Earl, what say you?
I'm rooting for Kyrie because he made this city an NBA champion. He hit the biggest shot.
LeBron James made the city.
He hit the biggest shot in franchise history. That shot is by far why we won the championship. Now, granted, LeBron James is the whole reason why we was even in the NBA Finals to begin with. But for me, I got a personal bias towards everybody that was on that 2016 team for the simple fact I'm born and raised in a city that was championship starved. Most of us, like my father died before this. My grandfather died before this. A lot of people lost a lot of people in their families before the Cavs won the championship. So to anybody that's from Cleveland, it holds sentimental value. Yeah, the Kyrie forces herself out. Did things get kind of crazy? Yeah, but you know what? To each his own. Like, you got to show people grace.
At the time?
I was pissed, yeah. But at the same time, I've always had this attitude. If you don't want to play here, cool. I'm not going to force nobody that don't want to play for one of my squads to want to play for it. If you don't want to be here, you don't. It is what it is. But I'm definitely rooting for Kyrie Irving. I respect and like Kyrie as a player.
G?
I always take the road of, when you say, are you rooting for somebody? Man, it's only like, dude, I only root for the teams where I come from. Like, I only root, like, if I'm watching a game, I'm rooting for the Cleveland teams over anything. Like, that's just what it is. I don't got no secondary teams. So for me, am I personally rooting for them to win a championship? No, but I will say, I'll always say it's a good story, right? Like, I like stories. I like different things. I think Kyrie is in a better place mentally. I think he's in a better place basketball-wise. I think he's in a better place with his family life. It was looking crazy, and I'm going to be honest with you. Like, in Boston and New York, it was looking crazy. And sometimes you find out the hard way, like, hey, man, like, when people start getting you up out of places, that ain't them. You can't say it was them in Cleveland, then it was them in Brooklyn, then it was them in Boston, and now you in Dallas. And he looked around and was like, you know what? Like, I just might want to just hoop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to hoop. Like, and there's a lot of things that, I even had to learn this myself. There's lots of different things, political-wise, like, or things that I'll say, that will get on my nerves and just irk me. And I'm like, but what about this and this and this and this and this? And then I just had, after you get a little older, like, you just have to be like, you know what? If I got certain opinions about certain things, obviously I'm gonna speak out if I feel like it's something that's really an injustice or something going on. But as a man, as a person, as you get older, you realize that you could do much better about giving your time or giving your energy or your money towards certain topics than just publicly saying stuff. You can actually do something about it. Yeah. And I think Kyrie is to a place now where he's like, look, I don't got to make everything public. I can go do and just be about the business that I think is important and not put everything on Front Street and get a bunch of backlash from it. So I think, he's at a better place basketball-wise, but I think he's working on his redemption story.
It's funny. His PR strategy this entire play has been just talk about basketball. Like, just don't talk about anything that's not basketball. Stick to hoops, and it's worked to incredible extents for him this entire postseason, because you see on First Take and on ESPN and on NBA TV, the narrative is Kyrie rewriting his history book, and it's like he's just hooping.
Yeah.
Which is all we've ever kind of wanted from Kyrie, and that's deviated a bunch of different ways. What I did think was interesting, I'm not sure you guys heard this comment, but Jamal Crawford was asked about this I think he was on Gilbert Arenas' show, and he said if Kyrie wins a title with Dallas, it could, and his word was exactly, it could mean more to him than the title in Cleveland did because of how far he had fallen off from the pedestal he was on when he was there.
I mean, I can understand that.
I don't like hearing it,
Like,
but I understand
I can
it.
see it from a certain perspective of, Kyrie is 32 years old, and as Kyrie has grown and matured as a man, which a lot of people didn't really want to give him room for human error or room just to grow. People forget he's 32. As a man, no matter what your race is, you really don't start maturing until you get up there in age, right? And so I think that because of everything that he went through, and like for him to have to come back from that, I can understand. It's like almost like a redemption tour, right? It's one of those.
Let me ask you because, obviously one of the big things was some of the comments that he made during, the time when he was at Brooklyn, and you being, a person that's Jewish, right, and that watches sports and you watch some of these things. How have you felt about his sort of metamorphosis and where you was at for now and then? And
I like that he's not talking about other things right now. I mean, although I think it's fine to talk about other things, he's never apologized for any of the comments he made. He said a lot of things that were hurtful. He said a lot of things that were dangerous. When you talk about anti-Semitic things, it's dangerous. When you spread conspiracy theories, as he did, it's dangerous because you're a celebrity and you influence people. And if you influence people to make dangerous to themselves or others decisions, that's bad. And so I got a big problem with that. I am always someone who is willing to forgive. Now, I don't know him. He doesn't need to get my approval, ultimately. But for me personally, no, I don't feel any better about him because he has never apologized for any of the hurtful and harmful things he said. And not just the anti-Semitic comments that he made, but in terms of some conspiracy theories that he's brought up. I'm not going to get into them. People know what I'm talking about. And they're dangerous when people spread conspiracy theories. And so I got a problem with that. Ultimately, I can look at him as I can separate, just like I've said with Deshaun Watson and others, that in recent years I've gone to the place where I separate the person. I don't have to like the person to respect the player. I always did like Kyrie, even though I didn't know him, obviously. And I would like to like Kyrie. And, if he apologized for some of the things he said, if he came out even in the future and said, hey, I said some things in the past, they were really stupid. I shouldn't have said it. I didn't know what I was talking. I'd be like, great, I'm okay with that. But in terms of the basketball player, he's always been a phenomenal player, but he's always gotten in his own way by distractions and by injury. The injury's obviously not his fault. And they've hurt his career to some degree. But watching Kyrie play for the Cavaliers is one of the most fun things I think any of us have ever seen in our time covering Cleveland sports. Mm-hmm. And for you guys who were born here and raised here, Kyrie was super. Even when the Cavs sucked, the only thing you had in those years between LeBron was Kyrie was fun to watch. That was it.
To this day, regardless of what team he's on, watching Kyrie Irving is must-see TV in terms of basketball. He's a basketball savant, a wizard, a magician. Things he does with the basketball, he is truly in a one-of-one category. You talk about, hey, he's good at this, and this other players can do that. And no, the stuff Kyrie Irving does with the basketball, his finishing, the ability to use his left hand to take floaters over like Rudy Gobert, running to his right. It is unmatched by everyone else in the league.
It is amazing. And his size, his ability to
finish. He's not that big, and he's not, he's lightning quick, but he's not the quickest. And he's fast, but he's not the fastest. But the way he can handle the ball without ever losing composure, and the way he could adjust his body to stay square to the basket regardless of the situation, is stuff that I've never seen anyone else ever do before.
His body control for a guard might
unmatched.
Be the best ever.
Yeah. Add to your point, though, he's blossomed into everything that LeBron James said that he could be while he was here in Cleveland. He knows how to be the facilitator. He also knows how to play off ball. But I think the biggest thing is the leadership, right? He's the guy that's been in the biggest game, arguably, in NBA history. He's the guy that's been in all these different closeout situations with all this different playoff experience this late in the season. And I think for him to be in the space personally, to be able to put that professionally on display is the reason why his team is in the situation that they're in right now.
He's so good that I think half the reason that people look at Darius Garland in a different light is because you watch Kyrie Irving.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you look at both point guards, young point guards, and, that you kind of compare them because, people talk about, the LeBron James shadow. The Kyrie Irving shadow is loud and it's crazy too. Like, when you watch Kyrie Irving be able to finish and shoot the way he does and 90% from the free throw line and he's still giving you almost 40% from three, and he's everything that you watch as a guard, like from Allen Iverson to Isaiah Thomas to Steph Curry, like to Chris Paul. He has an aspect of all of that. And so sometimes when you see him play like that, you just be like, man, this is.
By the way, G, are George Niang and Dean Wade in the Kevin Love shadow?
No.
Hey, to that point though, I thought it was the most disrespectful thing in the world when they let Colin Sexton come in here and wear number 2 like that. Because I get it, Kyrie forced his way out, and I think a lot of what the situation is with Kyrie is Kyrie go against the grain, right? He makes people uncomfortable, and when you're somebody that's comfortable making others uncomfortable because you're being your authentic self, that rub people the wrong way. And the only reason I bring that up is because Kevin Love didn't want to be here no more either. You didn't see them hand the number 0 off to nobody, did you?
Hey, I'm gonna tell you.
You see what I'm saying? They ain't go hand the number 0 off to nobody.
Listen, when I'm rooting for, here's what I'm as vitriol as any other person. When you say you don't want to be here, like if you my girlfriend and we break up, you can't tell me what I could do. I don't like you. I want all my stuff back. I don't want your jersey.
I don't know. I don't think nobody should
his number.
I don't think nobody should have been able to wear number 2.
Oh no! I'm giving out 2 and 0. I gave 23 out too when LeBron.
No, they didn't.
The guy.
No, they didn't.
I'm saying in my mind.
Oh,
in
the
my
guy
mind,
forced his way out and basically ended the team's championship run.
He still hit the biggest shot in finals history, team history, and probably
forced
NBA
his
history.
way out. He ended on a bad note.
That's cool, but I think
The
when
Kevin Love comparison is not a good one, though.
No, the reason why I'm bringing that
up.
up though is because of who Kevin Love is as a person.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have those type of issues, but because Kyrie rubbed people wrong, I think it was,
But
it was a little
first of all,
different
we
there.
don't know that. If somebody wanted, nobody wants to wear 0.
But to say like he shouldn't have his he hit the biggest shot ever.
That's now. But you can't also as a man and Dan Gilbert being like, look, I made you the first overall pick. I gave you a max deal. We
won the championship.
We won a championship together, and for you to say that already in the parade you was thinking about leaving.
Yeah.
As a man, as an owner, you hurt too. Like,
And
dang,
he dissed
bro.
Cleveland on the way out.
Man,
So,
Dang.
I don't care about all that. All I know
All right,
is
but
this city had never won a championship before.
Yeah.
Kyrie hit the shot that made us NBA champions. That's the bottom line.
I hear you.
That's the bottom line.
He wasn't the biggest piece on that team, though.
Well, of course, LeBron James was. Everybody knows that.
I wonder if anyone asked for 0. I think that could
Right,
be part of it
that's
too.
what I'm
Like,
saying.
I don't know.
No, people wear 0. The young cats wear 0.
If somebody asked for 0, I'm sure they'd give it to
Yeah,
him.
No, they're not.
I think so too.
I doubt
think
they will.
would. Why would they not?
Kobe
Kyle-
Altman has said that he wouldn't let nobody else wear 0.
Well, he's a dope for saying that.
I know
I would
Colin
let
Sexton
somebody
wore
wear
2 in college. That had been his number, so
Yeah,
I bet
yeah.
you that's part of it. But back
We
to
got to move on. We
got
got
Aditi?
Aditi with us, so we'll
awesome.
move
Yeah,
on.
still real. We're bringing Aditi.
Good stuff.
Yeah, guys,
Earl, thanks
before
for
we
coming
bring in
Yeah.
Aditi, she is brought to us today by BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off of our chest, big or small. Certain things can really start to get to you. And it's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased in your life. So today, I'm here to tell you how I really feel about the excitement that Aditi's back on with us today. Therapy, however, you can talk about anything else, and that is different for everybody. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports teams or our favorite co-hosts coming on the show. It's important to get those things off your chest every once in a while. If you're ever thinking about starting therapy, try BetterHelp. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is visit betterhelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
All right, our good friend Aditi Kinkhabwala is with us. I think. There
Wait,
she
so
is.
is there a subliminal message in that being the read before you came to me? Because Adam, the last time we talked, it was me getting a lot off of my chest, right? Venting
Well,
to you.
let's be fair, Aditi. I mean, most of the time when you're on with us, you're getting things off your chest that you're pissed about. And as someone who gets pissed off about a lot of things, I can appreciate that. We're like your therapy session. Instead of paying
clearly.
$200 to a therapist, You come talk with us, and you get your complaints out. That's good. Smart move.
Somewhat, but I need to censor myself. At least when we talk on the phone, I don't censor myself.
No, that's true. That's true.
Now I don't know if I don't know if you should go to Bull for censorship. Bull's not
that's the wrong.
He's not a censor guy.
No, I'm saying when she calls me on the phone, we talk. There is no censorship on the phone.
Right.
Now
Exactly.
Yeah, it all comes out there.
Them conversations could be crazy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure. We should charge money for those conversations. But just as a side note, my entire athletic career, starting from the age of 3 when I played soccer, I have never worn the jersey number 0, ever. Nor have I ever wanted to wear the jersey number 0.
I never heard. Earl claims young people today like the number 0.
My coach.
I guess I'm not young, so there's that.
Our military
People like
coaches.
0.
Our military coaches said that they don't give out 0 and 1 because 0 is not ambitious and 1 is selfish.
0 and 1 were the goalkeeper numbers in soccer, and I was mad that I had 1 over 0.
Well, they just let 0 in the NFL, and a bunch of players took it. And
Yeah.
the NBA, and you could do double 0, which is different than regular 0.
Yes.
I got to decide for my fall baseball league that I'm coaching. We're gonna have manager jerseys, so I got to pick a number.
69.
Oh, God.
He went there. Now, Didi, I want to ask the first question because, that's not like you, McNuggets. That's just
Man.
But
not.
no, but we got pulled the jersey last year.
That's because to be fair,
Yes.
I bought a Browns T-shirt jersey.
A jersey.
It was a jersey.
It says the Bull, and it's number 69 because I thought it'd be funny.
Yeah,
So I was just saying, yeah.
obviously.
Play the hits.
That's
children.
right. It made sense. But I didn't expect you to say it. Go ahead. Let's get the real question.
This is your opportunity to, get your victory lap off because, Kevin Stefanski today, Andrew Berry today got the extension. You've been steadfast for how many years that you've been on this show that it was coming. It was there. It was going to be a situation. We just had to wait for it. And it was never in doubt. So, your thoughts on Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry getting their deal and, what that means for the Browns moving forward.
I hope they both got everything that they asked for, frankly. It's just like you said, G, and I appreciate that. There's no question the stability, the consistency in messaging, the success, the results that they have brought. And the last time I was on the show, we were talking about how nimble they've both had to be, and they most definitely were last season in light of all the injuries. And the way they led that team, built that team, and coached that team to still make a playoff berth. So I think that the Haslam's finally have gotten it right. They see that they have it right. And so why wouldn't they extend this pair? And I think the biggest thing is how well the two of them work together. They really are. They are in lockstep, but they also argue well. And I think that sort of pairing is what bodes so well. You don't hear about the internal turf wars that you hear with some other teams. So now you hope they get good health. Sorry, Mikey, go ahead.
No, the Browns brought in Jim Schwartz last year, and he obviously meshed well with Kevin Stefanski, fit right into the coaching and front office equation with the Browns, and his impact was felt immediately. And then this offseason, they bring in Mike Vrabel as a consultant. And I'm curious from your perspective, looking at the Browns from a bird's eye view looking in, where do you think the most tangible impact Vrabel will have on this team in 2024 will be? Because I know he's dealing in all facets with Stefanski, with Schwartz, helping scout. He's working everywhere, but where do you think the most tangible impact that Vrabel will have will be?
You know what, and I don't want to hedge here or sound like I'm giving you a cop-out, but you can't put your finger on any one place here, right? Obviously, Vrabel and Schwartz have a relationship, and I should just really quickly remind you, when we were talking about Stefanski and Berry having this great relationship, it was actually Berry who knew Schwartz, who suggested that Stefanski talk to Schwartz and that Schwartz would make a good addition to this team. So even though Berry's not beating his chest over that, this is how those two work so well together. So Vrabel and Schwartz obviously have a relationship as well. There can be a cohesiveness in the way that they talk. There's a respect there. But think about how many times we heard Kevin Stefanski talk last year about how on one side of his office he had a former head coach and Coach Hennon, on the other side of his office he had another former head coach and Jim Schwartz. Kevin Stefanski has enough confidence in who he is that he likes hearing other ideas. He wants to know how other people have gone through things, been through things, faced certain things. So Mike Vrabel is there to be a brain, to be someone that Kevin Stefanski can talk to about, hey, did you ever deal with this? Or how would you handle this? Or what are your thoughts on this? It's another set of eyes. And even if he's not necessarily running what Jim Schwartz runs, doesn't mean that he can't offer input on that offense. And I'll tell you, on that defense, excuse me, I'm thinking of offense because I'm thinking of a game that I had. Mike Vrabel is just a guy that's got a great read on a locker room and then has his finger on the pulse of a team. I don't think I've told you this story, but I had the Titans last year after they had played that remarkable Monday night game in Miami. If you remember, Will Levis led those 2 late touchdown drives in, I believe, the final 2 minutes. It was sort of this signature win, huge thing. They come home, and they're now facing the Houston Texans, who have to start Case Keenum because C.J. Stroud isn't ready to go. So everything about this game read letdown game. And I remember during the week asking Vrabel, how do you make sure that your team isn't kind of nursing a hangover, for lack of a better phrase, when you come into this game? You've got this huge win, and now you're playing at home against a backup quarterback, and maybe you're just not as amped up, or maybe you're tired, or emotionally whatever. And Vrabel said there's no way to know until you actually get out on the field, but you obviously have to be aware of it. And very early in that game, the Titans were indeed a little bit flat. They came out flat. Early in that game, they had a 4th down conversion deep in their own territory. I believe it was the 23. And Vrabel, I was standing right next to Vrabel, he decides to go for it. And he decides to go for it because he knows he needs to juice up his team. And so I guess the estimation here is that if we get it, we're going to get an energy boost, and we need some sort of external boost, and this is what will do it for us. And if we don't get it, well, it's early enough in the game, whatever. They did get it. They ultimately lost in overtime, but still, they played a very good game. And Vrabel just knows how to read a locker room. He knows how to read a sideline. He knows how to read what's going on and all going on with his players and even with his staff. And I think those are all things that are just going to be of value. And why not? Like, the more smart minds you can add to your staff, the better you'll be. And we know there's been a big drain on that staff this past offseason.
Aditi, when you look at, obviously we've got 3 months till the season starts, but as of now, depending on what sports book you look, there's different odds. But overall, the Browns are plus money to make the playoffs, which for those who are not gambling people, and I don't know how much you gamble, if at all, that means Vegas thinks it's more likely than not that they will not make the playoffs. Now, they're not huge plus money, so to put it in terms, Vegas is saying the Browns have a 45% chance to make the playoffs, roughly, okay? Now, I think some people thought that was crazy, but I don't think it's crazy. In fact, the only thing that would shock me in the entire AFC, is if the Chiefs didn't make the playoffs. Nothing else would shock me. The AFC North is way too good. I legitimately think any of the 4 teams in the AFC North could finish in any of the 4 spots in the division. I don't think the Bills are guaranteed anything. I look at the Chiefs, no way they don't make the playoffs. I can't see it in any way, shape, or fashion. But any other team, it's a crapshoot. There's so many good teams in the AFC, and especially in the North. What say you?
I don't disagree with you. I agree with you completely on the AFC North. I think it's way too hard to handicap or rank or give you odds right now at this point when we're so far out from the season. And I'll be really honest, I have some questions, maybe concerns isn't the right word, so I'll say question, Deshaun Watson's new offense. And
no doubt.
How well does he pick it up? How comfortable is he running it? How at ease is he? How does the whole operation work, right? His whole time here in Cleveland, he's had one voice in his ear and one quarterback's coach and one sort of line of communication. Well, that's gone, and the quarterback room is somewhat different now in that his sort of the guy that he can lean on is somebody new in Jameis Winston. So I think that there are some very fair questions there about how that all meshes.
You know, Didi, you talk about the offense. That's a really big part of it. It seems like Jameis Winston kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit, and saying that, you know, he's very, you know, he likes what Dorsey is doing and some of the things that he's calling as a play caller. You know, could it be a good thing that you do have a different voice for Deshaun Watson? Not for the fact that he didn't like Kevin Stefanski, for the fact that I like a little bit of uncomfort for a guy who has to prove himself a little bit, right? Like, you know, I like the fact that, you know, he may not have certain little things to lean on, and kind of to force him to feel the heat a little bit. And I don't know if Dorsey's going to be able to do that, you know, throughout the season. But I kind of like the fact that, you know, he feels the pressure a little bit, Deshaun Watson, in his third year.
I think discomfort is good, especially if it motivates you and maybe to work in a way that you haven't had to work before. We all know Deshaun Watson is wildly talented. But picking up a new offense is just going to require more work. And you would say that of anybody. You'd say that of a guy that shows up at 5 a.m. and leaves at 10 p.m. You'd say a guy who works 9 to 5. I'm not making any sort of general statement on Deshaun Watson's work ethic. I'm simply saying that this is an opportunity where he is likely.
Put her back on screen, Steve.
Yeah, this is our little fan over here. And I'm so sorry. She's clearly crashing the shot. Kaya, this is quite rude. This is extremely rude. What's the proper way to handle something like this at this point?
Have you seen that video that's been circulating of the kid in Congress as the guy's making the speech and the kid's behind him?
Yes, and he's making the face.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to get her to make faces then.
Well, I mean, clearly she's not shy about that sort of thing.
No, not. Hi.
Kaya, we're talking about the Browns. What do you think?
That's your favorite team, right?
The Brownsies? Yeah. Is that what you think? All right. Can you let
me on the merry-go-round?
Okay.
We love the merry-go-round.
Yes, you do love roller coasters, don't you?
Yes.
So, what are your thoughts? Do you think the Browns are going to have a good year? Where are you? Are the Browns having a good year?
Yes.
Yes.
There we go.
She's
That's
biased.
all we need.
That's expert analysis.
Well, she's born in Cleveland, so you have to take everything she says with a grain of salt, you know?
She's
got some bias. Can you take that? Yeah, exactly.
Adina,
Anyway, carry on, please.
Yes.
putting you on the spot a little bit here. I should have texted you and prepped you on this question. But in your opinion, who's the best player in the Browns that we don't talk nearly enough about?
Oh, that's a good one.
I know. I
That's a good one. That's a good
I
one.
should have texted you. My bad. Bad job out of me.
Well, I mean, we can run through that. I guess, you know, it's hard for me, though, because I don't know who locally gets enough attention, right? Because I don't necessarily, like, I think our crew and who we talk about, or I think about game broadcasts and who we hear about, I think nationally, I will always say, even though he is an all-pro and is generally recognized as one of the best players in the league, I still don't think that we talk about Nick Chubb enough. And a lot of that just has to do with who Nick Chubb is and how sort of receding he is in his personality. But this, to me, is one of the top 5 players in the entire league. Do we talk about him enough? I don't know. I guess you're thinking about an under-the-radar kind of guy, right? Talk about Denzel Ward. We talk about Greg Newsome. We certainly talked about MJ Emerson. We talk about that front, that line. We didn't talk enough about Elijah Moore to make Adam happy because we should have been talking about him more, right? That's a consequence of what he produced. Well, I'm not saying he's a great player. I'm just talking about who we didn't talk about.
You know, the question is who's not talked about enough?
Yeah, which player in the Browns do you think?
Like, who's an unsung hero, or who's a guy
I think it's a guy you mentioned.
Talk about more.
No,
because he'd do more.
I have said this consistently, and it's amazing that this takes place in Cleveland because, as I've said many times, and you don't know this, Aditi, as you just said, you're not here all the time. You don't work regularly in Cleveland. You're here sometimes. So in this town, the fans generally, the media somewhat, is hard on the Guardians and hard on the Cavs, But for the most part, from a lot of fans, the Browns get a complete pass no matter what they do. I don't know if it's because the team was stolen and there's that underlying fear that if we're too harsh, the team will leave again. I don't know if it's just because football is the most popular sport, so you love it more, so you give it more of a pass. But the Browns get way more of a pass in this town generally, and not for everybody, than the other teams in this town. And the players specifically, people don't like when you criticize players. It doesn't matter how disappointing they are, which is why it's shot. And the better players are either fairly rated or overrated, too overhyped, which is a long-winded way of saying that it stuns me that arguably the Browns' second best player on their roster gets undervalued, underhyped, and frankly disrespected in this town on a regular basis, and that is Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward does not get the credit he's due. Outside of the 2022 season, he has consistently been a top 10 corner in the league outside of 1 year, every year. He doesn't disappear at the end of years, which Myles Garrett has done. Now, he's had injuries, and that's been a negative, but he's never missed a full season or anything. He's consistently played at that high level as much as any Browns player in the last 20 years, or most Browns players in the last 20 years, and people treat him like he's just a guy. I got Earl, who is out of his mind, who thinks Martin Emerson is better. Martin Emerson can't carry Denzel Ward's jock. It's not close.
So here's what I think is interesting. I would say outside of Cleveland, I certainly don't feel that way. Every conversation that I've ever had with my crew or in meetings or just sitting around talking football, people acknowledge and recognize Denzel Ward for the player he is. I mean, I get to still live off the stories of being at his pro day and seeing what he did there. But this is, again, what I'm saying about Nick Chubb. Denzel Ward is not a Jalen Ramsey. This is not a guy that talks. This is not a guy that's constantly drawing on the field. This is not a guy that's drawing attention to himself. And so there is a piece where I get what you're saying, that maybe he doesn't get his fair due because he's not also adding all that drama to what he does. And he's not demanding the spotlight in that way. But I will add this little coda here. In the city of Pittsburgh, it's the same. The fans go way easier on the Steelers organization and are way more protective of Steelers players than I would say they are of the Pens and the Pirates.
But here's the difference, though. I'm not sure. I don't know hockey well enough to do it. But the Steelers have been a much better organization than the Pirates.
Penguins have been really good. I mean, they've won
That's fair.
Stanley Cups.
So
that's fair.
Whereas the Guardians, especially, and even the Cavs, to some degree, have been way better organizations than the Browns, for the most part.
Well, maybe to your point, the expectations are just higher.
Yeah.
Maybe the expectations,
that's true.
in the city of Pittsburgh, there's sort of a lot of frustration about the Pirates, but it's like, if they're not going to spend money,
Yeah.
what can we expect?
They should be.
I
By the way, they
think
got two of the
that
best young pitchers in baseball.
The Pirates.
Yeah.
To
When are you
both
coming
points.
to a game? I thought you were going to come to a game soon, Adam.
Yeah, I don't know. We got some things going on. We might not be able to get out there this year, but we will be eventually.
To both
All
points
right.
about Denzel Ward, by the way, Didi, we're going to dive into this tomorrow on the show with Tyvis, but PFF just put out their cornerback rankings. Denzel was 17th.
Wow.
Woo.
That's absurd. I'd need to really see who is ahead of him and his
Where was Martin
availability.
34th.
All right, that's fine. That's fair.
And Newsom was 24th.
Newsom was 24th?
Dang. Your boy.
Even I'm with Earl. I'll take Emerson over Newsom.
You want the top 5 real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll do this tomorrow on the show
Yes.
with Tyvis. Who knows?
Go ahead.
Sauce Gardner was 1.
Yes.
Trent McDuffie, Kansas City 2. Charvarius Ward, San Francisco 3. Pat Surtain 4. Jalen Johnson 5. Jalen Ramsey 6. Jair Alexander
All right,
7.
you're going too far.
Kendall Fuller 8.
You got-
Michael Carter 9. And Teron Johnson of Buffalo 10.
Mike's gone out of control. He's
I
gone
said
rogue.
top 10.
You're going rogue.
I think
Well-
Denzel gets knocked a little bit because he's perceived as being injury prone.
Yeah,
And that's
it.
in the write-up.
That's
And
it.
John Costco did it, by the way.
Yeah.
And John Costco, Cleveland guy. Or
That's
not
why I
Cleveland guy,
asked
but-
is availability wonders that they're looking at.
Yeah, he mentioned that the injury history is part of the reason he got dinged here.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about it tomorrow.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Aditi, great. Go ahead.
No, it's awesome. I was going to say Trent McDuffie is a young player that I like a lot, and I had a great time with last year during the playoffs. I just feel that he did a lot out of the slot. He was a great blitzer. But of course, there's different with L'Jarius Sneed gone now. There'll be different things required of McDuffie. So let's see what happens.
Aditi, I was gonna ask you just from a female reporter perspective of
We have time, 'cause we
the
only-
Caitlin Clark situation.
We only have
have
one
time?
real quick. We only have one super chat, right, Ant?
Yeah.
Yes,
do
we
you,
have
do you
time.
have an opinion on it? I mean, if you followed it, I don't know how much you're paying attention to the WNBA.
I have, and I'll say this. I work with some phenomenal who have helped build the WNBA, and Lisa Leslie and Swin Cash and Renee Montgomery. And I'm actually dying to know how they feel about some of this more than a lot of other people who right now are trying to give us an opinion that don't really have an appreciation of the league and what it is and how it's growing. And I don't know. There's a piece of me that wishes, can we just talk about Caitlin Clark as an athlete? And does everything have to be in the prism of race and sexuality? And I don't know. I don't know enough.
Yeah.
But I will say this: I do appreciate that there is so much attention on the WNBA.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with a catalyst, perhaps bringing fans in to realize how high level the game truly is.
Right. And I think I
appreciate that.
I think having conversations about race and sexuality are healthy if they're done by intelligent people who are willing to be open-minded, which we all are.
Sure.
And I think those are healthy things to have. Personally, I think this has a lot more to do about race than I think it has very little to do with sexuality in this particular case, but obviously I don't know for sure. But anyway, it's another topic for another day. But thank you, Aditi, as always. We will talk to you again soon.
Guys, love seeing you. Hope to see you soon.
Peace.
Bye, Didi.
Aditi Kinkhabwala, CBS. Always great to see her. Let's go for we got one super chat. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, from our Mac Dog. He says, I agree with Adam the Bull. Kobe Altman should have been fired for hiring JB, who was not a proven coach. He overpaid to acquire Mitchell, and he doesn't understand talent for bringing in Niang over Stevens.
Well, Lamar Stevens didn't play. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't
and
know about
JB, like, he got hired in place of John Beilein, who got fired. Like, that was
Well, the
just,
John Beilein hire was terrible.
well, that was above.
Probably, but if you're going to get credit for the Donovan Mitchell trade, then you got to take the blame when things don't work. I mean,
That's fair.
we never know what's. A lot of people have said that Deshaun Watson was the owner's decision. I don't know that. I mean, we're all. I'm guessing that I think that Alex Van Pelt was pushed out by ownership. I don't know that for sure. You hear things, you don't know for sure unless you're those people.
I was watching the show the other day, and I caught some of the commentary you guys had with the Caitlin Clark stuff. And this is just it's the unintended consequences of more eyeballs. Like I think a lot of people are freaking out because, again, I think Aditi said something that was true. It's like there's a lot of people that are in that game for the first time.
Yeah.
It's like somebody who for the first time got into fantasy football and now is watching NFL, and they're like, why are you guys doing that? And you're like, that's just
you don't know what you're talking about.
We're new. You're just new to this. And I think a bunch of people is new to it, and it's just, it's part of having casual fans come and be a part of your system.
You got to take the good with the bad.
And it hammers home the point. We talked about it on Behind the Glass. You missed it last night. You go check it out. You can say you just want the sport. People want the drama.
Yeah.
Like, the sport will take you so far, the drama takes you to the next level. And whether or not it's right, and whether or not it's fair, and whether or not it's the avenue that any given entity should be covered in, the reality is people like the drama more than they like the sport itself it's why free agency and the off season, and we do big numbers and shows do big numbers and that stuff.
And
it's really not the games. People love the games, don't get me wrong, but it's the drama that comes along with the extra part of the sport that makes any sport go from being here to here.
And sexuality is a part of it, Bull. Like, there is a part.
Yeah, I do.
There's
but I think in this case it's more about race and money than it is about sexuality.
No, there's more people that are willing to watch it because of the sexuality angle. There are more people that, as now you see people that are on Instagram and people being more open than they ever were.
Yeah.
There's a portion of it, and there's a part of the fan base that come and say, oh, I think these people are attractive, or I like this person. That plays a part in a lot of.
But what I'm saying is some of the attacks, you got attacks going both ways that I talked about yesterday. It's really annoying on both sides. Some of the attacks on this side are like, well, they're all jealous because she's popular and she's white and she's straight. I think the race is a bigger factor than her sexuality.
That could be a thing.
I don't think the anger towards her has anything to do with her sexuality.
I think, and also it's economic speaking.
Yeah. Yes, that's the biggest thing.
She's the richest person
That's
today.
Yes.
more than race. I think
that's the biggest.
That's
thing.
the biggest.
Yo,
That's
I got the
biggest
bag, and they
And
know
that
how
can
much.
lead to frustration, and I get it, and toughness.
Right.
But it shouldn't lead to try to injuring somebody.
Right,
That's
right.
that's the cross.
The money factor is more than
We'll
anything
see you on overtime in just a couple of minutes on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Pete.